Let's click the button. Ta-da! Voice. Voice and face. Go us. Well, hope everyone's doing well. I know I am. Had a bit of a good day. Hey, everyone in chat. Maybe a bit of a quiet night today, actually. I know a couple of our. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. I mean, you're perfectly on time, aren't you? Now that you're here, you can tell me if the microphone's working. Maybe. First purchase after pentatonics. I've heard a bit of pentatonics' work. Emma likes them. That's the group of 5 of them, and there was one dude who left at some point to have a bit of a solo career and did pretty well, right? Abby Kaplan is one of them that went solo. Yes. Black for good. Thank you, Kibbled. Good to see you tonight. Glad you're here. Just gonna kill some other applications that may be stealing all my bandwidth. Solo and also family stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not surprised they found someone else to take that spot, right? Because they're a relatively popular one online. Very little experience with acapella. I mean, everyone's heard the a cappella group from Glee, at least those 2 seasons. Man, Glee went weird. First season's an obvious satire, and somewhere between the mid-season break they start playing it straight, really straight, and that almost exactly when you can see Brian Fuller has lost interest in it. Like, oh well, I don't care anymore. Another writer takes on and says, "We've got all these serious-ish characters. Let's take their plight seriously." And it gets weirder. 3 writers and wants to do different things. Yeah, exactly, rebooting. Exactly. Oh, maybe not Brian Fuller. They're not the same person? Shit. Do they ever collaborate on things? Maybe? Whoops. Fuller's a Hannibal, American Gods. We also do Pushing Daisies and Wonderful. Because Hannibal and American Gods is much darker than those ones I labeled. And yes, alright, cool. I'm so bad with names. Man. So I'm surprised I managed to get that right. That's pretty good. The if we're talking about TV shows, mention he's a biphobic gay guy who wants to do horror comedy and has an American Horror Story. Biphobic. All right. I think all the biphobic gays, and this is one hell of a overgeneralization, so kill me if this turns out wrong. A lot of the biphobia comes from gays, like gay men, or gay or lesbians, are like because I came out as bi first because I was too afraid. Therefore, everyone must be doing the same, and that's there's a commonality to problems in small mindsets. When you say my experience is the only experience, that causes problems and is unrealistic. Obviously, I look like shit. I haven't managed to save today. Usually I try and make a bit of a hey, Maddox. Good to see you. You can do better. Long weekend and a long day today. I actually took it off because I wasn't feeling super up to mentally to going into the others. I should have worked from home, but everyone deserves some time to rest. Look, I'm pretty good. So we did. We got to Defiance Bay, right, Maddox? And well, like, let's talk about just a plot recap because it's been a little while. We got to Defiance Bay and had a really good time doing literally every side quest. Yes, I checked a couple of guides to make sure. Went through the whole thing and had a good time. Nice to see you, Emma. I had a good time, like talking through some of the options for the side quests and going through them together and getting revenge for a child murdered for no reason. Yeah. And now we're up to infiltrating the cult of Woedica underneath the ruined Temple of Woedica, the main quest in Defiance Bay. And that'll involve a lot of me talking over and over, reading out some really interesting dialogue and scenes. So that'll be fun. And since we did mostly side quests, we've got like a greater understanding of what Slime Shadows is like, but we don't strictly have. I haven't strictly missed anything yet, you know? Not core plot details. Well, 6 past. Let's go, shall we? We'll click the continue button. And it's been a lot of fun to do side quests. We geared up our people. We picked up Paladina, and we picked up some other allies, like Grieving Mother and her IVF. And we're kind. I think it should be time to replace her IVF with Durance. Yeah, rebooting. I think you were in bed when she turned around, and we did her quest without talking to us. So we didn't actually have much of an understanding why we did her quest, or at least the first part of it, and that was a big problem. That was me messing up. And I was saying to my girlfriend, I was really, I fell into the same old pattern. The first time I played it through,
Hey there. How is it you Eothasians stay so optimistic? The world has not given your kind much reason to hope.
You get to a certain point and you realize you got two options. You can go mad with grief and tear out all your hair and check yourself into the sanitarium, or you can wait for better days.
Well, feathers in my case. But I understand your point.
I'm hoping you guys had games out on that one because there was also a bit of time where you didn't have any games out, and that wasn't much fun. Um, yeah, we did the first part of her quest, which is
I'm
talking
ready.
to the embassy, but we didn't do go through her dialogue tree yet, so we missed out on the whole backstory. We learned that she had an idea, wanted to go through with it, and then her superiors wouldn't let her. That's it. That's all we knew. That's not enough, really. Um, and as I was saying, my girlfriend, I was telling her that I fell into the same pattern. The first time I played through Pillars, I did the same thing, and I just ran in and did what it told me to without going through the dialogue tree, which is something we've neglected to do for several of our NPCs, and is what we'll do now before we go do some main quest. And I think it's funny that even on a replay where I'm specifically trying to show more information, I'm falling to my common or preferred behavior. That's just interesting, you know. It's like it's like playing through
I'm
any
here.
other role-playing game and going, this time I'm going to play Renegade and Mass Effect, and then saying, but I cannot be a dick to this character. And you end up doing the same thing over and over. Weirdly enough, that kind of role-playing is harder for me. It's harder for
I'm
me to
ready.
pretend to be a jerk.
Hey,
Let's talk through everyone in turn. This time I'll play Renegade. Adair, what do you have to say? Defiance Bay is, well, it's not exactly what I was hoping. Say what you want about Guild of Vale, but at least they could all agree they wanted to hang me. Alright, I wanted to ask something about you. If you're sure, what did what did you do before all this?
so, other than the war, I never strayed too far from where you found me. Farming, mostly. I was never much for cities. Never learned a trade. In my younger days, I thought I was gonna go preach the word of Aethys. Just in our temple there. My parents encouraged it. I made so much trouble for them growing up. They used to say it'd be best if I got in good with the God of Redemption.
Man, that's a fantastic line. It's flipping idioms and killing every companion in my run. Oh god. That's crazy.
Of course, us blowing him up probably didn't help my chances there. But if anybody'd forgive you for blowing him up, it'd be Aethys.
Repeating, I understand, like, we use our imagination to fill in some of the gaps that other companions would feel about when we don't have strict dialogue trees, but it thought it would be weird to place her as a devotee of Aethys. Anyway, did the people of Gilded Vale really try to kill you?
They, they did. It was strange timing, because we just won the war. They celebrated when I came home. There was music and dancing. Trumbull used half his grain making this big honey cake. I still dream about that cake. Like having the best lover of your life, but only for one night. And they were all sorry to hear about my brother. Took a while for word of the purges to reach us. Aethasians being murdered in the streets. Cold Morn and the like.
Remember Cold Morn.
No way would they let something like that happen in Gilded Vale. That's what they all said.
Rebooting, I was thinking that. I'd love Mercer's voice as well. I need to make more effort to finish Critical Role Season 2.
But the weeks went by and the purges spread. Pretty soon they weren't so sure my brother fought for Deerwood. And they weren't so sure I did.
This assumption is based on his religion as well.
Caught me by surprise after all the celebrating. Should have seen it coming after the tailor said he was gonna fit me for some new clothes, but then all he wanted was my neck measurement.
Really?
Nah, not that last part. But you had to think about it. Says a lot about the place I've been calling home all these years.
2 episodes into Exandria Unlimited. Again, also need to make a better effort to get through that too. They're good shows, and Abria is doing a fantastic job as a GM. I love the showcasing her differences. But they're long episodes at 4 hours, and it's weird to hear me complain about that. But I found myself, I was working from home Thursday, watching it before the live stream on Friday. My brain just disappeared. Just wasn't inhaling or ingesting any of the information, so I paused. Now I'm halfway through third episode, I think. I'll get back to it. Why'd you stay for so long in a town that hated you?
I'm sure my parents are still wondering the same thing. The Aethasian purges were like this madness had come over the town, like a disease. Seems like when you see something like that, your instinct is to wait for it to pass, even when you know it probably won't.
I did pause a moment, lost in thought. I double-clicked. The family whose farm I worked on, they had a little hollowborn girl. When I heard the Animanters had this cure, Salvation it was called, I went running. With Salvation, they were putting animal souls in children. You might have heard about it, giving them enough personality to care for themselves. You can guess how that turned out. In a matter of time, the children broke down, became wild things, monsters.
Anyway, these farmers put the family dog's soul in their little girl. For a while, the girl, she's making eye contact, she's feeding herself, albeit in a kind of messy way. And one day she snaps. They found her gnawing on her brother's bones. Had to chain her up, put her in a cow pen.
It's fucked up.
Well, the mother, she wouldn't have anything to do with the girl after that. But the father, he'd visit every day, feed her chickens, toss water on her once in a while to get the dirt off. Most of the village, they'd whisper about him. Poor man, they'd say, sick with grief. He was just waiting for his daughter to look up one day and recognize her papa. He was waiting for her to get better. Didn't understand that at the time, of course, but these days I think about him a lot.
Yeah, Bull, that's a terrible joke. I mean, a very good joke that is very bad. He shakes his head, and his eyes narrow, contemplative. He's waiting for his daughter to look up one day and recognize her papa. Jeez. We already know about his brother. He told us a couple times, so we're gonna ask the leading question anyway. Just my parents now. I took a ship back to Ada when the purges started. Wanted me to go with them, but I didn't see things like they did. Been a long time since I've seen them. I really should visit, but for some reason I haven't much felt like leaving home. Good thing they chased me out, or I might never have left. Tell me about your brother.
Woden was, about everything you'd want your firstborn son to be. Dutiful, honest, put thought into everything he did. Real pain in my ass. Made me look bad about every way he could. It wasn't something he tried to do, but of course, that just makes it worse.
Yeah, well, not quite, you know, because while they're useful for certain things, you can use use souls to empower some golems. Hey, Mecha. Bad soul. um, while you can use souls to empower some sort of golems, occasionally, and not in the Jewish tradition either, just um, other constructs. Um, they're not super useful for, like, they're not used for power, right? So in a lot of settings where souls actively power things to like literally power like electricity, that's not the case here, so it's harder to say I'll just straight up sell it.
Not that he didn't get into trouble himself. He was just better about feeling guilty after. But we used to have this farmer near us, Hereward. Couldn't stop talking about how well he cared for his chickens, how their feathers were the whitest in town. Convinced the butcher to pay him double what the other farmers got. Me and Woden got tired of hearing it. I was maybe 11, 12 at the time. We borrowed about 6 different dyes from the dyer one night. Dyed Hereward's chickens every color but white. Next morning, the butcher comes knocking, asking for 6 of his whitest chickens. We were feeling great, up until Hereward saw what we'd done. He just got on his knees and cried right there. All those colorful chickens around him not knowing what to make of it.
Bear chuckles, beaming mischievous pride.
I thought it served him right, but I could tell Woden had other thoughts. Sure enough, the next day, every one of those chickens had been scrubbed down. They weren't white, mind you, but Woden sure tried. Never said a word to me about it, but I knew. That was Woden.
God.
My parents, they always let us be who we were. Never told me to be more like him or anything like that. Which was good, because I was never gonna.
This, like, I made the dialogue larger here, because this story is probably what I would call attention to if I was teaching a class on, oh my god, if I was teaching a class. If I was teaching a class about writing in video games. And specifically this section, this dialogue tree, this getting to know an NPC, this short thing here. We've got incredible emotion and backstory and investment in what the world is like here. We have stories about pastoral life as well as like human greed and pride. We've got regret. We've got characterizations of both the character that we're with and what his impetus is and what he sees as a good person. Because remember, Adair clearly admires his brother. He's just, trying. That's fantastic, and probably one of the great examples as to why I keep calling Pillars a game with really good writing. It's not just the main plot, which is still pretty damn good, or the setting, it's also this character, among others.
What's on your mind?
Something about Aethys, Adair.
It makes 2 of us.
We're not a priest of Aethys. We can't ask this question. What is there to know about Aethys?
If you're looking to find religion, maybe you want to start with a god that hasn't been burned to dust, but I won't stop you. Aethys, he was a young man with a silver crown. Carried a candle around with him. Sounds like I'm giving a bad eulogy here.
He was, well, it was a lot of different things to different people, I guess. Rebirth, redemption, light. And the country he's gone, farmer who helps all things pass, seasons and people both. Oh, I know what's wrong. My chair is usually higher. That's better. Thanks, everyone. He watches over the week, does go on. Sees and balance is done right. You can see why all the Coppolis rowdies around here might take a liking to someone like that. He was real popular here for a time. These days, you wouldn't find too many worshipping atheists out in the open. It's hard to know who still does in private and who's given up. Feels like I'm the last one sometimes. He smokes. If that's the case, he deserves all the mourning. Do you still worship atheists?
In my way. I don't suppose he expects me to show up at his temple these days. Not much left to do for him other than keep his memory alive and Keep hoping that he's just been playing a joke on all of us these past 15 years.
15 years? As far as I know, he hasn't said anything to anybody since the Godhammer detonated him. There's that mumble, I'm back. Mako, please, tell me about Yumbo the Ham God, so I can more correctly ask Adair what he thinks about Yumbo the Ham God. Why worship Aethys, then? He grimaces. Well, it turns out he's not dead, and I gave up on him. I betrayed my god twice. Even the god of redemption's gotta have some standards. I'll probably be reborn as a fat Amawa's horse. Gibbled, why is Aethys murdered again? Aethys seemed to possess or turn a saint into the physical incarnation of in Woedica, in the city-state of Raid Ceres. And Raid Ceres are like, okay, well, with our god in our head, we're going to become a like a theocracy with our living god at the head of our country. Also, Waydwin slash Aethys, now 15 years later, they're not super sure exactly who it was. Was it the god, or was it a person pretending to be a god, or did the god actually supplant his soul? What happened? He declared war in the Deerwood and just marched down with a bunch of zealots. The Deerwood are like, well, we can't let you do that. We worship Magrin a lot. Magrin, how are we going to deal with this problem? And Magrin, being a goddess of war and fire and invention, weapons of war, like usually inventions handed by Abaddon, like, has said, well, I know what to do. Let's blow them the fuck up. And they blew them up on a bridge. And since then, with the Godhammer bomb, nothing, not hide nor hair, no godlike of Aethys has even been seen in this time. That's not really it, though. Not all of it, anyway. He cast a sidelong glance. Guess it's more I still believe in the things he believed in. I just hope his death doesn't mean the death of those things as well. Sometimes it looks that way. If you have a divinity of rebirth and redemption, and they've been killed, these sort of crises of faith is interesting. Yeah, exactly, rebooting. Since then, babies have been born without souls, and it seems to be increasing as well. That's why they call it Waydwin's legacy. You know, God of Rebirth is killed, babies born without souls. Which is funny, because also, Bereth, the divinity of death, is also the divinity of wheels, right? And Bereth is supposed to be the one that runs through those, that cycle. Anyway. Well, why did you choose to worship Aethys in the beginning?
Raised that way. My family's been Aethasian going way back. Suppose it wasn't much of a choice at first. Don't know for sure why my family started worshipping him. Probably because of Gon looking after folks like us.
Dawn being an aspect of Aethys. He looks him in the eye, conspiratorial. Could be just as well that my ancestors did something so bad only Aethys could forgive. Explain a lot about where I got some of my less respectable traits. Did you only worship him because that's how you were raised? Catholics. Sorry.
There was something I genuinely liked about Aethys. Always. Like he understood people better than the other gods. Knew all our flaws and weaknesses and accepted us for that. Folks are at their worst when they're afraid. A god like Aethys, he made you realize there was nothing to fear. Made you a better person. Of course, he goes away for a few years, and look what happens.
What made you think Waydwin didn't speak for Aethys? And that's a decent question, right? Waydwin, the living saint, Waydwin's supposed to be the incarnation of Aethys? Like, this is getting to the crux of the matter. Adair, why did you fight for the Deerwood instead of your god?
Was his actions. Not when he started his rebellion, and not even when he took over Raid Ceres. It was when he sent his armies into Deerwood.
Up to that point, he was sticking up for his people. That's what Aethys does. At least the Gorn part of him. His farmers were starving, and their government didn't lift a finger. I figured if it wasn't Aethys himself, at least he had the right idea. Then he sent armies across the border. He even crossed it himself in the end. Word was, he was chasing refugees that escaped the rebellion. He wanted to punish them, and punish us for allowing them to live here. That just didn't fit right for me. Those are the deeds of a vengeful god. Skayan, or Woedica, maybe. Or a man who just lost his sense. I still have trouble believing it, but there's no one left to ask if it was true. Tell me about the purges.
You sure you don't want to talk about something more pleasant? Like the War of Black Trees or the Legacy or something?
Adair looks at you as though he's looking directly into the sun. It's eye-opening, just seeing how naked you are when you got no god to protect you. The Saints War was a hard time to be a Deerwooden. People thought it was the end times. They talked big about how we were going to defeat a god, but I don't think there was a man from here to the White March who didn't think he was going to die. It does something to you. Thinking you're going to die at someone else's hands. There's a rage that comes, indignation. Imagine a whole country full of that. Might have been Paul Morn that started it. Town near the border. They let Widewood march right on through. The rest of the deer would curse their names till the end of the war. Some say it was the Aethosians there that persuaded the town not to oppose the army. Others said it was just cowardice. It was like the legacy that way. No one knew the real reasons, so they just picked whichever best suited what they wanted to believe. Either way, that town was burning before the first ashes of Aethos hit the ground, and it felt good to the people here to be in control after being so helpless, so the fire spread. A lot of us Aethosians went the way of our god. There were claims from the Church of Magrin that you'd actually commanded the purges. I find that hard to believe. I found that hard to believe. It sounded to me like people doing what they wanted, wrapping their god around it like she was a cloak. Then again, that's what I thought about Waidwin.
What's on your mind?
That's all we have for a day from now. I'm glad we know more about him. He's one of our favorite companions. Glad we can talk to him. Skain is an unpleasant god. Absolutely, it's gross as hell. I love Skain's existence in the setting, specifically having a deity that's main goal is to protect and lift up the underclass, and abandon them when they become the upper class. That's neat. Skain being like the tortured servant, and uh, it exists solely to provide some sort of solace to the underclass. That's really cool. Because there should be some sort of divinity like that. I also like that, given the kind of firm nature of all these divinities' lines, they don't seem to change portfolio. Um, if you are a Skayan worshipper or priest and you're in too much a position of power, you become a noble through violent revolution or something, Skayan abandons you. No, storyline sucks. It's gross as hell, and it's also in act, like it's in this act, so you will hear it. We're coming close to it.
Your mind comes bearing questions, Watcher.
I have questions for you, Grieving Mother. Let your mind speak for you. I shall listen past the words. You addressed me as a Watcher when we met. Do you know what a Watcher is, Grieving Mother? There was a slow chill, and for a moment it seems as if she is going to fade from your vision, as if she can't bear to be seen.
The title came unbidden. I do not know why I spoke of it. Yet it seemed the right mantle, a familiar one.
Including the chimes for Grieving Mother is an excellent decision for sound design. It was probably listed in her notes to the sound designer. It's her activation and sometimes even like attack sound, because they're around her hands. They're going off all the time. Yet I do not know from where it came. If I've given offense, oddly enough, it feels like she's not speaking to you. It feels like she's speaking to an audience. The air takes on a curious edge, a chill which persists for a sharp moment, and fades into a dull fear. If I have given offense, forgive me. Forgive me. You would know more than I. Have you encountered Watchers before? I do not know. It is an odd feeling. I do not know where it stems from. It was a word that arose when you saw me. It is said Watchers see much that others do not, and I have been hidden from the eyes of others for some time. Let me ask you about something else. If I have answers, I will share them. I want to ask you about her fear. Do you know what a Watcher is? We have these again. Why are you afraid? Same again. Skayan sucks and applies some bad shit. All the divinities do. You may have identified a key theme here. How is it that no one can see you, grieving mother?
Their eyes see me, but their minds will not remember past the call.
A wall?
My face is like the call of a newborn, hiding the face beneath. And for my body, I am able to wrap myself as a mother cradling her child. I am here, as you see me, but to them, their eyes see only the cloak that I wear, a peasant mother, dirty, shabby, not worth knowing. As a watcher, you see more than others. To the eyes of most, I am as unseen as the spirits you share memories with.
Very cool. Not quite, Meko. Every horrific and unpleasant thing about Skate is inflicted upon them. They're a reflection as well as a recognition that the powerful will brutalize those beneath them. I'm glad it's there. Here, here we have a video game where they explicitly say the oppressed people are beaten down and should be treated with some level of respect. Scan exists as a threat too. I'm glad it's actually acknowledged. It's sure as hell not in a lot of Forgotten Realms media. Call old superstition, exactly, Mako. A baby born within a call, which is the amniotic sac. Some sort of power. It's also like because it looks kind of fogged and milky. You can see the shape of a baby underneath, but you need to remove them from it, otherwise, they'll die. And it just fits the theme of grieving mother as the midwife. Very fascinating. How are you able to affect minds? I divert the flow of their senses down a different path, to a place easily forgotten. It is not unwelcome when one does not desire the presence of others. The surface of their minds registers figure, but the memory slips away. They see a woman, but there is no desire for conversation, no desire for any questions, and I have none to ask. Okay. I want to discuss something different. Let your mind speak for you. I shall listen past the words. When we first met, how was I able to enter your dream?
I do not know. What you speak of? If you were in my thoughts, I could not feel your presence, nor do I know what you saw there.
She doesn't know we had that very long, like 15 minutes or so, history. And another one. She speaks, you suddenly feel an odd sensation in your mind. As if she were walking in your thoughts would be as if walking in her thoughts would be as if walking down a back street of merchant stalls, the claustrophobia of wooden shelves and canvas tarps made less oppressive by the sheer number of enticing vials and bottles that stretch out to the sides of you. You suddenly realize that whether she permits it or not, you could enter her dream and observe it without her ever knowing, and in response, your hand twitches. There's the feeling that you could simply pick up a vial, taste it, sample it, and keep the memory of your own. And suddenly you find yourself back in your present thoughts, though you were away for but a moment. She seems unaware of your diversion of thought. It may be one of your gifts, an ability. Sorry, that's her voice. It may be one of your gifts, an ability to walk in memories as easily as someone walks upon the ground. We could just pick it up. We could ask. Maybe she wants to know. Perhaps you'd like to hear what I saw in your memories? Exactly, Mecca. You and I. A mixture of curiosity and fear wells up between you. She raises her left hand, the chiming at her wrists, quelling the rise within her. She's frightened, but curiosity anchors her.
And what did you see in my memories? I would hear you speak of them.
And here we could just say, never mind, lol. And that's mean. The memory I saw upon meeting you, it was you helping to give birth to a child. There is silence. And as your breath falls still, you hear the faint cry of a child in the distance, a newborn child, almost exactly like what you heard in the dream. And as you listen, a grieving mother raises both her hands, as if weaving, her wrists chiming as she does so, in the semblance of the gentle toning she provided while the newborn was crowning. And to your surprise, you recognize the motions in the words from the memory, even as they are new to you. As she weaves her hands through the air in front of her, the child's cries grow still. Yet the sound of the chimes weave almost hypnotically into your thoughts. The sky seems sharp and clear, and you feel as if you were towering over your surroundings, as if kneeling atop a great pillar, just as she did in the memory. To your surprise, the grieving mother falls as if her strings were cut and her knees crack hard against the ground. Her hands never cease moving in the air, and the chimes echoing her movements. In a ragged voice you hear her speak. The voice is that of a much older woman than the one before you, harsh and almost desperate.
Tell me what you saw. Show me what you saw. Where were you?
Her eyes, now terribly sharp and real, are filmed with white, silver white, like Adra. Where were you? Let's use our stats, right? We can give a exact answer. Let's do it. It was in the middle of a forest, atop a great plateau. The sky was clear, mist blanketing the trees. As she kneels before you on the ground, she whispers to you, hoarsely and even fainter with the distance between you.
The stone of the plateau. Its color. Tell me its color.
3 answers. You guys remember? You can scroll up and check. Does it tell us? There's pillow. I believe it's Adra. It was silver Adra, its surface warmed by the sun. As you watch, her hands rise before her. She clasps them, and cups them as if feeling them for the first time. And she stares down into the cradle of her hands, and the chimes sound once, twice, as they swing with the movement.
And what did these hands hold?
Again she speaks, sharp, hoarse. The same chimes you hold now? No. They held a mother while she gave birth painfully. I'm not sure it was a child you're bringing forth. Or intellect 19, one of the highest possible stats. And we have it. Slam Shadows, he's a good lyricist. He's got flow, and he's also a smart fucker. A newborn child. There's a sudden intake of breath, and then a release. Her eyes blur closed, forming into slits, but in the brief glimpse you have of her changing expression, the rippling pain in her features seems to have smoothed. She swallows once and twice, and then you feel her once again in your thoughts, the rasping husk of her voice swallowed and drawn within her.
It was the birthing bell you saw. Has it been so long? Have I forgotten so much?
There is a surprise, followed by a rising horror swirling beneath the words. And with the words comes a river of impulses, thoughts, as if loosed from a breaking dam, as if your mind wraps the impulses into words. You realize it is her muscles and her hardened thoughts relaxing and breathing again. There is such an intensity you almost want to step back from the flow, but you find the wave of impulses causes questions to float to the surface. Among them is a name. Watcher. What is the birthing bell?
It is a plateau formed of the spirit stone Audra. At its top is set a great bell, cradled in the reaching arm of the plateau. It stirs in the wind, and it sounds for leagues when struck by kith hands. In distant times, the great bell served as a Glanfathan watchtower, perhaps. Why they abandoned it, I do not know. Other men came in time, settlers, and claimed the tower as their own. I, in turn, claimed it from them. The pillar became a cradle where I could draw new souls into the world.
So kibbled. And rebooting. You're right. She'd forgotten the memory we saw. She had repressed it. She didn't know what we picked up and read. She didn't even remember it in any way. So she wasn't quizzing us. She was trying to get disparate parts of her memory to bring up more of her memory, and using us as a way to get that information. She's been through a lot and cannot remember this. So if she had the opportunity to, and as you saw, like, recovering that information is traumatic. So we're helping. In your memory, were you helping a woman give birth?
Yes. Yet, I believe you only saw a small part of the birthing ritual. It is not all in a moment, nor in a day. It is a journey of many years between the child, the mother, and I.
Tell that to the current medical system. Ooh, bam! There was much I could do to aid the mother. Some sought the physical comforts of ritual to steady their thoughts, even Adra from the bell. Others would seek advice, words of counsel for the days ahead. I was able to provide drafts, tinctures, and a reading of the child's spirit, all to strengthen the mother. A reading of the spirit? Is it like our friends in the guard? I don't remember the actual name right now. I can pause to give myself time to remember it. You know, the jerks who do soul readings to see if they understand. So tell me, can you tell me about the birthing ritual?
The ritual was one of many steps. It took many tens of years to carve them, but always the child's thoughts were there to guide me from the moment it began to awaken, to the 3 seasons within the mother, to the birthing day, and the years to follow. The child's thoughts, that is where it began. The expectant mother, I could often sense her thoughts and those of her child before she could. I would soothe her, free her from the panic of questions. I would sound the memory of the birthing bell atop the plateau in her mind, letting the memory of the vibrations fill my thoughts and hers. Often, the child's soul could hear it too, so the sound of the bell echoed in the mother's thoughts.
Exactly, rebooting. I was specifically calling attention to the fact that Grieving Mother just said that the birthing process involves multiple years of care. What an idea! Instead of just treating the pregnancy as a single affliction that is cured and you enter a different stage with different doctors, right? Child's born? Great. Pediatrician time. Bye! I'm off to help 20 other mothers. Grieving Mother specifically helps one woman, not one woman, she's one person caring for them throughout the early years of childhood as well as the, brilliant, great idea. Exactly what midwives were for before it was unnecessarily medicalized. Medical intervention is highly necessary, and thank God for not dying in childbirth. That's a great step, not dying, but there are places to improve, and this is one of them. Yeah. So, and also, in universe, this is a great example of what the difference between a Watcher and a Cipher is. She can read thoughts because she's a Cipher, and she knows it echoes into souls, but she can't read the history of souls, and she's not awakened to seeing them out in the world. Just a Cipher, different things. And the difference between the two of them is one of the most common questions that come up whenever people are talking about the pillar setting. Do you sense the mother's thoughts? Sharing memories and thoughts can bond lives together, as can hardships, and most of all, the sharing of what is familiar. The bell itself provided shelter for such thoughts, opportunities to see deep into the crevice, hollows in the rock where one could find shelter, clefts where you could feel the Adra all around you. As she speaks, you feel her legs bent, crossed, and the warmth of the walls around you, and blankets woven thick beneath you. Such shared images can bond souls even tighter and allow them to draw strength from each other. You mentioned the ritual lasted years. What would happen after the birth? Once the pain is channeled away and the mother and child breathe again, I sound the birthing bells on my wrists and allow the mother to hear the child's thoughts, the ringing echoing in each other's thoughts. The bells open the way between them, and let her feelings pass into the newborn, and let her feel the child in return. And when the feelings meet, that is when I weave another memory and leave it tied in their minds. Think this would help with postpartum? Think it might. That may be like the inspiration for this part of the ritual. Did these bells play an important role in the birthing process? Slam, come on. Yes, and for years after, I gave a set to the child after delivery. It is a reminder of the memory the mother and child shared. You feel an odd sensation, a warmth, and you can feel a smile being shared, and then it flickers and is gone. As the bells coax the child forth, so they accompany the child onwards, fastened about the wrists, to care for him in mind and body. There is no magic in it except the magic of practicality. If a child sought to leave their cradles or escape their cribs, the bell, the mother would know through the warning of the chimes alone. And at times, if the bond was strong, so would I. A sensation of a smile comes again, slower, more knowing between you. If not watched, children, much trouble may be had from tiny hands. Don't I know it? The answer is no, I don't yet. I'm not a father. The chimes are kept until a child needs them no longer. When I no longer hear them sounding in my mind, I know their spirit has changed. The bonds we shared are long gone. This shedding may last many years, or but a few, but it is necessary. You watched over these children for years after their birth? Children are fragile things. Even the ties of blood and mind may not be enough. They must be watched, and even then, the body may fail the mind. But if watched, even the most sickly child may cling to life if determined enough, and many of their souls were tied to me. If a child's spirit failed, I could sound the chimes in their mind and grant them strength, even from afar. It did not always serve, but it gave hope. It sounds like you've seen tragedy too. Enough to never wish to feel it again. In times before the bell, children who died were cast upon the waters of the lake beyond the bell. Sometimes while alive, their paths and futures were deemed weak. It was a different time. Children were treated carelessly. Those times are past. That's kind of fucked. It also means a grieving mother in some way. It doesn't mention whether she invented this tradition entirely by herself or learned it, and this is ancient history. But before this ritual was invented, before she started doing this, they just throw their dead children into the lake. Or dying. That's very messed up. I have other questions about the birthing bell. Ask what you will. I'll provide what answers I can. Why would you give it telling of the child's spirit?
Many would come seeking their child's future, or a reading into the child's past, the lives its soul is said to have lived.
Just slow chill. For a moment, it seems as if she's going to fade from your vision. As if she can't bear to be seen, and there's a spike of fear, alarm.
Such things are not mine to see. I meant no offense.
Oddly enough, it feels like she's not speaking to you. It feels like she's speaking to an audience. The air takes on a curious edge, a chill, which persists for a sharp moment, and then fades into a dull fear. You feel the word Watcher resounding in her mind. You're frightened. Something about Watchers. As the thought of Watchers crosses your mind, you feel a sharp pain, stabbing, and the sudden burn of lashes across your back and shoulder, and then it is gone. You feel the grieving mother before you, silent, almost fearful, wary.
I was something else, but because the title Watcher was cast on me, the word carried a weight I had neither earned nor deserved. The world seems filled with such titles. They distract, I think, from the actions of the person, from their strengths.
So here's the rub. People mistake the difference between a fighter and watcher, and turns out it happens in universe too. But if they came to you to read their child's soul, what did you tell them?
I drew upon the present. I felt the soul of the mother before me and used that to tell the child's path, to give it a voice. If only the thoughts of the mother and the emotions that lie beneath were mine to impart. I did, and so I used that as the telling of their child's future.
She lies. Or invents a nice truth. Or acts as a fortune teller in, like, a coastal town where unemployment is high. Telling people what they want to hear. Right? And what if the mother's emotions were painful, hurtful?
One must guard oneself when drawing upon the thoughts of another. The pain of a mother's rage and disdain. It can be a powerful poison.
You sound like you speak from experience.
Yes, and I live with that weakness still. I have learned to shield myself from such edged thoughts, strip them away, and to tell a clearer picture of the child.
I agree, rebooting. Right. Because I don't think someone needs to be 100% perfect in their duty in life, right? The people are coming to her for assistance. She's helping them through one of the most traumatic and painful things someone can experience, birth, and doing a damn fine job of it. Like, magically enhanced fine job of it. And throwing down earlier traditions that were messed up, however true they might have been. So, I'm still cheering her on. That's fantastic. Um, right? But it is also worth pointing out when, like, perhaps it maybe is a little bit subtle, and our viewers in the VOD, hey VOD, can't ask questions of us. It's good to see you guys. So I want to reiterate, if I find something interesting, pour it out. That's what I'm going to say. So you shaped their thoughts, made the readings true. Ask. That's a hell of a statement.
This is my calling, to show them the life I see before them, and even greater, make them believe it.
This is another cipher power. Show them the life I see before them, which is not strictly true, you're not fortune telling. And even greater, make them believe that's her life. What if she predicted someone, like, she strictly said, I live with that. I heal myself from edge thoughts, strip them away, and tell a clear picture of the child. So if she predicted, say, this child will be king, the parent would believe it. Mother, specifically. Fathers have not been mentioned the whole time, and good, right? Some feminine traditions need to exist. I don't need to insert men into this whole process. So, I don't like two because it feels too accusatory. I want to go with one. That's not what a watcher does. We don't shape minds, we see them as they are.
Even the most strongly worded tells may not be enough to save a child and allow it to be born. If I have the strength to strip away the stem of a mother's spite to expose kindness, weave nurturing from disdain and neglect, then that is my calling.
A common thing I keep saying when we're doing side quests is when we have power in the universe to influence change, we use it to help people. That's what she's doing. Stripping away the stem of a mother's spite to expose kindness and weave nurturing from disdain and neglect. That's good. But also, isn't that subtle mind control? Right? Maker, you're exactly right. This is complicated. I don't know if you're right about dads not existing, because, like, Aloth, Aloth's dad's a massive jerk. It it could be subtle mind control. Like, she doesn't say, I pop at them like a snake. That would be shitty, and would be easily and obviously say that's not a good thing. Grieving, what the hell?
And with the weight of Watcher behind my thoughts, these tells gain strength. Strength I never possessed on my own. They believed. And what they believed became the truth. With each child that was set upon that path, the title of Watcher became stronger.
Watcher there is in quotes. So she's saying, with the weight of the title, or what they're calling me as Watcher, behind my thoughts, these fortune tellings gain strength that she never had on her own, which kind of also implies that the things she's doing, like the subtle mind influences, aren't as strong as a social reputation as someone known as a watcher anyway. What they believed became the truth. When each child was set upon the path, the title of watcher became stronger. You're okay, Mecca. I like your thoughts. Whenever you can grasp them together and throw them into chat, I appreciate it.
You must understand, without such weight upon my words, many lives would have been lost, drowned, cast in the lake beyond the bell. Now the trail to the lake is lost and reclaimed by the forest, as was meant. A watcher was not there to look over us, but it was a watcher that saved them. And with a watcher's strength, children were born, were cared for, and grew strong.
How long does it take for an old and bad tradition to be cast aside? Because however long you imagine that being, Grieving Mother has been doing this process. Now they no longer drown children, wherever she's from. We have a choice. And chat, it's been lovely having you for a full hour. We've just been listening to some people talk. We need to make a decision between 1, 2, and 3. Do we make a statement to say that to inflict your will on another, that is not reading, that is control? Or do we say, it seems your readings are necessary? Hey, False, you're probably talking about Final Fantasy, because the person that pulled me over to that server was American, and they have moved here since. And all their friends are there too. It's NA or EU. The Oceanic servers are relatively new, like this patch. Also, hey. Or Japan, I guess. Yeah. I'm gonna go like in 30 seconds for now because I got distracted talking to False. I'm gonna move to Oceanic. I mean, look, it's a good idea. Oceanic servers would be closer and would have a lower ping, but I don't like playing with Australians because generally they're jerks. um, and they're beefing up. Sorry, chat and um, chat and everyone in the VODs. We're talking about Final Fantasy. Whoops. Crosscar lady from Linfilamento and Oceania. Yeah, not a bad idea. I don't play alt, so I don't bother. Anyway, let's go with 2. It seems your readings are necessary, and that's the judgment Slime Shadows is making.
What use is a frightened will when a spirit is at stake? Would you let the fears of a mother end her newborn's life? You felt it in the memory, the weight of it, the importance of the child's life. It was a memory we shared.
Did we share that memory? Or did you inflict it on me? Or, that memory, it's not the truth, is it? And suddenly there's a rasping cry across her consciousness. She raises her hands and you see the chimes draped away from them, yet they make no sound as she moves.
A greater good was done, and children were saved. It is a choice you may be forced to make one day, and when faced with it, you will make the same one.
When that happens, I'll be making my own choice.
This choice is not yours to make, Watcher. You will do as the world needs, as
Exactly,
its
Mecca.
children need. It is greater than you and your twist of sight.
If you're paying a lot of attention, your brain is working very hard on this Monday night, or wherever you're watching, right? You may have an idea about why a memory that is false is being displayed. Is happening, right? We will find out. And I don't want to spoil it. I heard the name Watcher in your thoughts and you remember the birthing bell. Why?
It is because I once believed I was one, and others believed I was one.
The slow chill, and for a moment, it seems as if she's going to fade from your vision, as if she can't bear to be seen. Why did you believe you're a Watcher? The world has many corners, and in some corners the name Watcher is more known. It is an easier title than others, and at times it is easier to wear. Placing a title upon what is unknown can dispel the fear of it, and I did not fight it. I even believed it was true, though I knew little of the ways of watchers. It even granted me strength. I was able to see the thoughts of others, shape them, and help guide souls. Watcher seemed enough, and the name seemed to matter little in the light of one's acts. There's another name for someone with your abilities. I see the word cipher in your mind and see its meaning. Although I did not train in such things, and the title feels more of a cloak than the world casts on me and judges me for. It is curious how a title such as that can define one, and at times be the source of such emotion that comes from no one but the voices of others. It is a curse of the world. Do you know anything about watches? I feel that they were once mocked, hated. Such hate feels dimmed now. I can feel it. Other hatreds have risen for other titles. They burned bright in the past. Now hates have shifted focus, and they may fall on the same again. Either you or me. Let me ask you about someone else. If I have answers, I will share them. I want to know more about you.
And I you. In asking, we reveal ourselves to each other.
Why are you called the grieving mother? The air seems to go still for a moment, and time stretches as it did before when the two of you first met. There's a wash of uncertainty from her mind, slowly shaping into questions. Well, do not coalesce. She does not move. She seems paralyzed, as if you had just wrapped her in a cold blanket.
That is a question for you, not I. That is not my name, although if you wish to hang the title on me, I cannot stop you. Is that what you see when your eyes fall upon me?
Make a find a way to justify kill all gods as a statement. I mean, in this case, meddlesome beings with more power than anyone should have and can reshape the world with thoughts and see models of the playthings that best and no care to their actions because they're untouchable. So basically, billionaires. Yeah, I wanted to repeat that for the VOD. That's good as hell. Yeah, exactly. Then they're not worth worship. But why would you choose to worship? That's a question I like to investigate. Grieving Mother just said, essentially, she didn't have a name till we looked at her. So, I named you? As a watcher, you may see what I do not, or your mind shapes the thoughts I project into a new meaning. There is truth in that title, but it is not all I am. So what do you grieve then? You must have felt it, seen it. It has as many names as the pain it has caused. As the words take shape, they seem to tumble from her, and the wave is great, rushing into your mind. To your surprise, you feel as if you've been touched by the bivouac again. And behind it, cutting through the torrent like a knife, are the thoughts of the grieving mother. There is a wound cut across the belly of the world, a jagged knife that has stripped the stems from men and carved furrows across the wombs of women. There is much I've forgotten, but I can feel the wound all around me. I will not let it will not let me rest, not let me be. The children have gone silent, yet their voices may be heard again. Are you speaking of the Hollowborn? The word there is a slowness of thoughts, as if the word is being weighed, accepted. It doesn't feel natural to her, you can sense it. Was once unknown to me, as was much of what unfolded in the outside world. When the curse came upon us, I thought it a smaller thing, a thing of communities and herds. Her thoughts seemed to stumble as if on weak legs. It was only when I walked did I feel it stretching out around me in all the cracks of the world. Children have been cursed. I do not think it was something they caused, nor something deserved. That which is inside them has been torn away. I do not know how, but this wound must be stitched closed. The world bleeds forth from between a woman's legs. If this blood is not stemmed, the world will die and grow quiet. Grieving Mother is specifically grieving the hollowborn children. Do you know its cause? There's a desperation, a welling fear. You can almost feel her thoughts shivering, and you realize she is as lost as you are on the matter, and then a sudden sharp clarity. I shall know it. Through you. Your eyes will track the cause, find the paths, and I will be beside you. There is no wound that cannot be healed, and if you truly are a watcher, then this wound may be seen for what it is. You saw me where I hid. Whoever's hands have stilled the world, you shall see them too. Grieving mother just predicted, or just said, or just knew that our character will solve the Hollowborn crisis. Do you think she's correct? Is that the big boss or the end of the game that we're going to resolve? Or is this a side quest? It would explain why it's been entrenched into a big part of the game. We're introduced to the world by it. Who knows? Keep watching this Let's Play and you'll find out. Except me. Yeah. What if sealing the wound causes more damage? I will be there, and you will do what must be done. You were given your sight so that you may watch the world, and you will tend to it. The children shall have their voice again. If your will is weak, then I shall strengthen it. Lean upon me. You feel a weight in her words, as if her hands are on your shoulders. You feel the questions in your mind lose their edge and become merely words. As I lean on you, you shall be my eyes, and I shall be your hands when the time comes. What do you think of Deerwood and the Empire? Those titles are markings on a map and channel people's minds in violent directions. Such things are a threadbare blanket cast over the world where men and women seek more importance than simply being. Yeah, so fuck borders. Hell yeah. How do you see the world then? The world is a field of souls, tilled by Bareth's wheel. The thought of cultures and territories do not concern me. The sowing and harvest of the field does. Bareth's wheel has slowed, perhaps stopped altogether. Whatever words, titles, laws, and blades not devoted to carving away the harm or healing that wound holds little importance to me. Yeah, fuck borders, right? Hell yeah, grieving mother. Something else I would know. I welcome your questions. It is a strange sensation after so long. Addendum added for dream and memory. We spoke to our good friend, and now we know a little bit more of the grieving mother's past. Perhaps she'll open up more as journeys continue. This is why we talk to our companions.
I'm ready.
Pelagina, a new friend of ours.
Need something?
Pelagina's eyes glimmer with a divine spark as she coolly appraises you. I was wondering about your order, the Brotherhood of the Five Sons. She's a paladin. Pelagina nods softly. Back in the Republics, we call it Firmas des Castolius, the Five Sons of the Duke Bells, the great dukes who rule over the most powerful republics. Spirento, Acenze, Silona, Ozia, and Rebua. The Duke Bells keep the republics moving forward, keep it at the forefront of trade and technology, and keep it strong against their rivals. We brothers are sworn to aid and protect them for the good of the republics and the citizens. You say brothers, but my breastplate bulges in the wrong spot? She cracks a small grin. I may look like a woman and sound like a woman, but according to the Republic's laws, I'm not. What they call godlike, people like me, we can never bear children, so we can't be real women for what that's worth. Most women in the Republics, if they can't bear children, it's like the sun had set on their lives. Fuck that. But what is worth to me? Freedom. The Brotherhood had a prohibition against women entering, but I was allowed. Many resented the decision, but I learned long ago not to care. Fuck the Republics, and what a way to treat the loophole in a shitty law, right? I want to ask you something else about the Brotherhood. Pelagina nods sharply. How does that work? With five dukes, they can't agree all the time. She throws her head back and laughs. Of course not. They argue endlessly in the Songrete Ducale. The Brotherhood is forbidden to take sides in their debates. Not that I'd want to. I'd rather risk life and limb fighting the Republic's enemies than listen to the droning lectures to the Ducal Congress. Our loyalty is not to individual dukes, but to the dukes as a whole, to their to their collective will and resolutions. We follow the mandates of the Ducal Congress. The individual dukes direct us, but they have an understanding of how we are not to be used. What's so great about the Valian Republics? Good question. Long ago, the Grand Empire of Valia thrived. As the empire collapsed into the warring states of Old Valia, much of that old culture was lost. The Old Valians see grandeur in the acts of their forebears and believe it elevates them. They are tired people from a fading time. It was once beauty in the great cities of the empire, but there are few alive today who ever saw it. The Valian republics are a rebirth of grand Valian culture, but we are more than just that. While Old Valia was content to look ever backward, the republics will shape the future. When did you become a brother? I joined the order when I was very young, only 6. I did not pass my final examinations until I was 20. It's not something I ever expected to happen. Pirates attacked the town where my family lived. It was not uncommon when I was young. They were more a nuisance than a real threat, but they were persistent enough that the Duke of Osvia saw fit to see the Frere to deal with the threat. I was enamored with the idea of being one of them. I didn't even know what it meant to serve a country then. I didn't really even know what the republics were. I was just a little girl. But maybe I wanted to be them because I saw how people celebrated them. I saw how people thanked them for what they did. And most of all, I saw how they left. Left this place that felt like a prison to me. Fucking cool, right? Good job, Palestina. So, how did you end up joining? My father resented me in my presence. When he learned that the Brotherhood accepted my kind, because we are not considered women, he asked if I could be traded in exchange for taxes due on his land. They could have believed that having a godlike among their traits would be prestigious, so he accepted me in spite of my physical limitations. Why did your father resent you? Because I was born different, but more than that, because the birth hurt my mother, and left her unable to bear more children. She weakly shrugs her shoulders. Dads, man! Fucking dads in video games! That's why my father traded me to the Brotherhood. My mother, she was a different sort, kinder, more forgiving. She did not blame me for being what I was, but when my father looked at me, he saw his family line ended. He hated me for it. That's strange. I wish I could be more forceful about that, but whatever. Our lives are strange. There are other ways my father could have dealt with me. He could have killed me at birth. No one in that village would have thought less of him. She shrugs, the membranes of her eyes sliding out and back from beneath her eyelids. Being sold to the Brotherhood turned out to be the better alternative. I'm clicking through dialogue again, just want to see if there's anything else. I gotta ask, why? Why was it difficult? It was more difficult than I had imagined, but I was a child. Children fail to understand the true difficulty of things. Good night, Mecca. Thanks for joining us this time. If you catch up in the VODs, it'll be good to have you there. Otherwise, rest up. We'll see you soon. Children fail to understand the true difficulty of things, but it makes them resilient to the doubt that plagues us in old age. Still, childhood eventually gives way to adolescence. It was then that the young man began to hate me for being different. Not godlike, but a woman among them. She shits uncomfortably. For many years it was hard to bear. It took me 3 tries to pass the physical test required of all brothers. Such failures are not rare, but it was used against me up until the day I left. Not until I entered service I was able to escape the abuse. It's fucking hard, right? I want to ask, why did you want to serve the Dukes? I wish I had been born ordinary. I wish I had been born somehow different than I was. Or that I had been born somewhere, some time where there was a place for me. But I was not. In the republics, people look at me and they see a godlike. I cannot marry, I cannot even practice a trade in most cities. My appearance is too upsetting to people. That's their problem, Palutino. Even though I could not be part of that order, I saw the value in it. I thought that if I could help preserve the republics, people would see that there is a place for my kind within our society. The Dukes are good leaders, but they need the Brotherhood to help them. You're a model minority, huh? How well's that going for you? I'm really glad you got a sword. Let's talk about something else. The membranes of Palutina's golden eyes slide out and back as she softly nods. How do the people in the Valian Republics feel about the godlike? Like with anyone who's different, most people are curious or afraid. And if they're afraid, she shrugs, they get angry. They want to make sense of the world, and people like me can be confusing. Believe me, people like me are easily confused. Her tone becomes more serious as her voice and gaze drift off. After a long moment, she looks back to you. We all have to protect ourselves no matter where we are. Being different means always looking over your shoulder, no matter the company you keep. You're one of the godlike, are you? She lets out a small laugh. That's what they call me, yes. I've never met a god, so I don't know what they're like. I can't say why everyone presumes to understand why I was born this way. Oh, but 15 minutes until we have our accustomed break at 8:30. Okay, so hold on tight. Where in the Valian Republic are you from, Valagina? I was born in a fishing village near Biajepe. Her brow furrows, her golden eyes looking away as she searches for a lost memory. Can't remember the name. She waves her feathered hand dismissively. I was only there for a few years. My best memory was leaving the place. Like all of the other brothers, I grew up under the Ozian Bestons. It wasn't easy, but I preferred the gutting fish. That's fair. Why are you concerned about Animancy Defiance Bay? That's an interesting question, because, like, I don't know if she's ever said it out loud that she is concerned. Maybe a missing dialogue choice. Who knows? People look at the Republic as a nation of traders. We do engage in much commercial trade through Defiance Bay, but the greatest value we have found is not written on the legend line, it's intellectual wealth, the ideas that we exchange. The Deerwood and the Valen Republics are the world's leaders in animancy. If the Deerwood institutes prohibitions against research and practice of animancy, it would have serious repercussions for the Valen Republics. Do you see animancy as something just to be traded? She snorts dismissively. I'm not a scientist, but I believe animancy can benefit us all. There are so many questions to be answered about who we are, why I am the way I am. If we can answer them, maybe we can make life better for everyone. Don't you think there are dangers in animancy? Of course it's dangerous, but we who live in the Eastern Reach, we are the children of pioneers. We sought out the danger. She nods her head decisively. This is why all of the best research must happen in the New World. Away from the place you're supposed to protect. That's kind of shitty, Ballerina. Right? Very colonial attitude there. Well, I'd like to know your opinion on something. She nods her feathered head sharply. Ask and you will know. How do you think things are going? I'm glad you know how much can be gained from diplomacy. In the Brotherhood, we are trained to keep our physical strength in reserve and use wits and words to navigate our way through most conflicts. She raises a feathered finger to emphasize her point. There will always be a time for war, but I'm glad to see you have the restraint not to succumb to the desire every time the opportunity arises. This is because we have diplomatic as a reputation. You spent a lot of time in the Deerwood. What do you make of it? There's other republics, but the Deerwood is one of our closest allies. We trade more with the Deerwood than any other nation. We have no greater ally in supporting animancy research. Pelagina shakes her head slightly. Still, I do not understand the Deerwood obsession with revenge and feuds, nor the widespread hatred of Orlans. I mean, good, right? I don't understand why we hate Orlans either. The Orlans for me, Glenfath fought for their homes and their culture, as anyone would. They fought dirty, but I would too if all my enemies were twice my size. Alright. Did the Republics view the Adir Empire as a threat? We used to view the Empire as a threat. Since the revolution in Deerwood, the Republic have benefited from the shield that the Deerwood provides. It's another reason why I fear the fall of Defiance Bay. If the Deerwood is weak, Adir will surely test the Republic's dominance in the Eastern Reach. What do you know of Rautai? I've done impressive things with cannon and artillery, and some of their ship designs are interesting, but they shout so loudly over minor accomplishments. She smiles softly. No one seriously questions that the Republic control all sea lanes in the Eastern Reach. Yeah, that's what you say. Everything we have for her. So, funny, I spent all this time talking about how we may learn more about her quest, and we don't.
How may I help?
So, Aloth. Aloth looks at you with quiet attentiveness. How may I be of service? Tell me about Adia. I've been gone for more than a year now, but I suspect I'll always think of the forests and fields of Adia as home. With thousands of years of history and tradition behind us, and there's a sense of dignity and responsibility that comes with that. He frowns. Of course, there's baggage as well. Our imperial past is still fresh in the minds of many, as you may have noticed here. Has it been difficult to adjust to the Deerwood? People here are informal, hot-blooded. His mouth twists into a wry smirk. More attentive to insult than to duty, but as long as one avoids provocation, it's easy enough to get along. He steeples his fingers. Gotten accustomed enough to keeping my thoughts to myself anyway. How long were you in Gilded Vale? He shrugs, fidgeting with the hem of his sleeve. Not much longer than you, as he saw it was hardly the haven that had been advertised. Any thoughts on what I should do next? He tugs at his sleeves. Maywald urged you to seek out these leaden key agents in Defiance Bay, yes? If his condition is any warning, we should find them with all haste. I was kind of tight-lipped at this point. Huh. Weird. I wonder if
Buddy
that's
Watcher.
leading into something, I say suspiciously. Hey, Sagani, what you got for us? Ooh, hefty dialogue trees and our favourite Sagani. What's on your mind? I want to know about your homeland. Nathatak? She rubs her nose with one broad finger. It's a big island in the middle of the Deadfire archipelago, just off the coast of the White that wins. Tundra, mostly, with a few snow-covered forests in the warmer parts. Most of us live in fairly small villages, by standards here anyway. Mine is Masuk. What's Nathatak like? She shrugs. Cold, but not as cold as the White that wins. The few Kith who visit Nathatak find it sparse. But there's plenty to sustain a village if you know where to look. She ticks the items off in her calloused fingers. We got hides and meat from caribou, seals, and small whales. Bone, too, which makes fine bows and arrowheads. Community's important to us. We survive or perish together, so everything we do, every week-long hunt, every wall we build, for the village. Sweet. Collectivist community. Gorgeous. Who lives there? Mostly into Inotanic. Yeah. Mostly Inotanic, like me. People here call us boreal dwarves. Migratory clans of Glamfellan from the White that Wen sometimes spend their colder seasons on Nathatak, but we don't see too many other foreigners who can tolerate the elements. She pats her weather-bronzed arm. Those of us born in Nathatak like to say we have a hardy layer of seal skin just beneath our flesh. Tell me more about Masuk. We're a tundra village. To an outsider's eyes, we're probably not much different from the others around us, but our elders have stories that go back hundreds of years. Epic hunts, battles with neighboring villages, sojourns across the sea. We share these stories, too. That's all. Full lake division. Rebooting. So what do you do back in Nathatak? I'm a long hunter. I stalk game across the tundra with with some of the other wives. We usually hunt caribou and oxen, but we find hares and birds too. It's a good and respected position to see so much of Nathatak and accompany my friends and sisters. This is one of the pleasures of life in Masuk. Tell me about Istamak, your fox. She scratches behind his ear. He's a good hunter, but not much of a talker, and that's fine by me. When we hunt in Nathatak, we almost always bring our foxes with us. They help us track and flush game, and they're fearless defenders against bears and snow leopards. Clever Itumak has always been my favorite. He wags his brushy tail. You have a family back in your village? Of course. We never send a woman who hasn't had the chance to find a mate and have a couple of children on their own. Are you worried your husband will... Are you kidding? I'm the best shot in Masuk. Lol. Tell me about your children. I've had 5. Yakona, Estuya, Nayo, Anik, and Malak. Estuya and Anik died young in long, lean winters. Malak was barely talking when I left. She scrapes the thumbnail along the handle of her hunting knife. You probably wouldn't know me when I get home. She frowns, her hand falling from the knife. Even in Nasatak, I spend most of my time in the hunt. But then it's easy to relish a hunt when I know I'll see my family enjoying our kill. What's your husband like? Kalu's a good man. He raised our children well and built us a strong home while I've been away on hunts. Our parents chose us for one another when we were still young. Not the way things are usually done here, but ours chose well. She smiles. We came to appreciate each other as helpmates first, and friends, and then, well, you know how it goes. There's a hint of a blush pin below the stripe of face paint. I do not like arranged marriages. Obviously. As a poly dude. Poly dude would probably just say, yeah, whatever, sure, and then just immediately, I don't know. But hey, it seems to have worked for her, so I'm not going to turn in and be like, hey, fictional character, that's not how it should be. I'm curious about your search for Pesok. I'll tell you what I can, but Tanak, it's Ilitzak. Pilgrimages like mine are rare. Why do your people have this tradition? He pulls the bear figurine out of his satchel, running a finger along its smooth back. It's something we've always done. The elders say it was first begun to forge ties with other villagers. It's hard to fight over caribou herds when you see someone you respect on the other side. I also believe that the passing our history on in this way keeps us stronger, and it helps them, the elders I mean, return to us after they've been away for us for a generation or more. They can use the experiences they've accumulated over lifetimes to lead the village again. Now this is a fun way to reintroduce traditions about rebirth and soul reincarnation in an interesting way that's not just, oh, I am also this person. You're like, well, no, we find some sort of way to keep people in the village even though they're being born elsewhere, because you go back and speak to them. Elders usually reborn so far away from the village. Most often, they return somewhere in Narsatak, a member of another village, or they're reborn among the Glamfelon of the White Winds. Even so, it's hard to say what's usual. A mischievous grin crinkles her eyes. When my grandfather was a boy, the elder came back as a polar bear. The huntress person for the task had to recite half of the village's deeds while running from the beast. Her expression sobers. Even so, there have been journeys longer than mine. Some last decades, and the huntress doesn't always return. What happens when the elder is found? That depends on the man or woman he's become. It's easiest when the rebirth happens in another village of Nasatak, where the tradition is understood. Even in the White that Wends, in the southern isles of the Deadfire Archipelago, people understand this custom and will welcome you politely enough, even if their souls do not remember yet. She shrugs, but sometimes you find someone whose soul has no memory of the village, and you have to tell him of people who remember him still. As disheartening as this is, you hope that the reminder will aid his soul in future life. How did you get picked to come search for Pasok? She grins. Another old village tradition. The elders watch the caribou migrations and cast seal bones to determine the right time for this journey. When the omens were determined, all the village wives drew shark teeth. We're the ones that go away to hunt and fish, so we're best suited for a task like this. Anyway, I grabbed a little tooth. She frowns. Traveling so far is a rare privilege for us, but as you can see, the journey can be unpredictable. What are your thoughts on my search? She frowns. Helps to know what you're hunting. You've got a lot of tracks to follow. Where they'll lead is anyone's guess.
Hey,
It's been nice talking to our companions, reading a lot of dialogue, getting to know them. It's taken essentially the first half of the stream to get up to it too. Pretty cool to take that time. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm not done yet, don't worry. We've got like 4 minutes until break, so we're going to head over to that place. We're going to investigate the leaden key called Woedica.
so those feathers, that's a blessing of Helia?
So they say.
Well, that's lucky. Where I'm from, we see a feathered lady, we start worrying maybe her dad got frisky with his hens.
I guess you can always trust a farm boy's head to go there first.
The bear's pretty good at putting his foot directly into his mouth, isn't he? Right? First, there was that dumb shit thing he said to Heravius. Go watch the VOD and Shira and everyone who's watching it there as well. And here we have, you sure your dad didn't fuck a chicken? And that's why he got feathers? Like, dude, you idiot. How did you think that was gonna go? Got it. A Woedica hood? Dark mask wearing the stylized countenance of Woedica is attached by thread to a black hood. Worn together, they obscure most of the defining features of the wearer's head. Oh, I wonder what we're going to do with that. Did I hit the take all? Pretty sure I did. And now let's run all the way down here. Go, 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 friend, friend, friend. This, he means well, but yeah. Because people aren't perfect. So far in the setting has been like literally no one who's strictly good. Right? The divinity of rebirth and redemption tried to take over an entire nation by sword and flame. Every organization has shitty parts. Some of them more shitty than others. I don't think you have to have like such a bleak or difficult world like that. Boy, is it interesting. I fail at that when I'm creating my tabletop worlds. Generally, there are obviously good places and obviously bad places, right? It's a bad habit of mine. So, I pick up the Woedica hood, I put it on Slam Shadows because he'll be doing the dialogue, and we're going to sneak in. New map discovered, Temple of Woedica. And it is exactly 8:29. So, let's take a little break. Microphone off. Thanks, everybody. My bad. Um, what I was yelling about is that it's been 27 hours since we've seen this guy. Have we seen him before? He's from the very beginning. In front of you looms the ghostly, hollow image of the man who was present at your awakening. He casts a pale, sickly light in the dank corridor as he regards you.
You are from Kratom, my boy.
His words are an echo in your mind from a long time past, and you know a response before you speak it, as if it always has been. I came to live there long ago.
A remarkable city. Truly one of the most impressive we have encountered outside of our own. Many exceptional people who have joined our cause come from Kratom.
I am happy to provide voice and voice over to you, Kibbled. Some facts. Creighton is the name of apparently a city that we've never heard before in the game.
What made you decide to join our order?
6 options here. What made you decide to join our order? Your teaching spoke to me. The world needs to know about the true gods. The gods have been good to me, and I wish to repay them. I went through dark times. Nothing made sense. That'll change when your order came to my homeland. I saw gods grant miracles to your order. Oh, I'm honestly not sure. Slime Shadows is a sassy dick, and we're gonna go with I'm honestly not sure.
As long as you are assured in your faith, the rest is not so important.
The man chuckles.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen?
Only one option. One. I am. The vision ends. What does that mean? And there are people here.
They shall see nothing while I see much.
Should we stealth? What is this place? What did we just step on? Alright, well there's a trap, so maybe it is a dungeon. That's what dungeons have,
You might
traps.
find this interesting.
Alos, you're failing to disarm traps? It's crazy. That's fine. Nuts attack boots. Freeze the bonus and stealthy. Well, clearly. Right? Right? The nuts attack boots go immediately straight onto her. She doesn't have anything there. The people who have a lot of stealth already have bonuses to it. She gets the boots. Hope to make you feel like home. You think you hear the faint sound of whispering coming from the skulls, but their words are unintelligible.
Hey,
You add a detail like that in your tabletop game, and your players will think it's a major clue. Here in a CRPG, we're allowed to just say, "This is a cool thing that's happening." And that's that. Tough mug.
God's keep.
The mercenary looks at his feet. Not that. These boots are made for walking. Please, go on in. His eyes dart up to the rest of your party. You know the acolyte doesn't like guests. I'd like to keep any friends of yours out of the main chamber. He shuffles. She's already in a state of account of someone being late. Listen to breaking it further. We're pretending we know what's going on, but let's do some very video gamey shit and ask obvious questions. What's going on here? He holds up his hands. I haven't a clue, I assure you. We keep to ourselves and watch for uninvited guests, just like your acolyte told us. No questions asked. You need someone else? I expect they're already started inside. Well, yeah, we did every side quest. It's been days. Tell me about this place. As far as I can tell, we're underneath First Fire. Probably under that ruined temple. If we weren't wearing the hood, how would that have gone? Mercenary, mercenary, mercenary. We'll probably have to fight all those
I'll
mercenaries.
take a look.
Main chamber? Oh, we didn't want to go to a main chamber. Maybe that's the main chamber. We want to investigate. We want to steal shit. We're adventurers. Mercenary? Mercenary? Mercenaries in robes? That's new. Are you the one acolyte's waiting on? She's in the peak now. I understand all the secret handshake business, but it pays. Crate full of random foodstuffs. Ooh, initiate. Copper pans, another book we may sell, buy things. A book lies on the table, its pages filled with some kind of unintelligible cryptography. Alright,
Gods
initiate.
keep you.
A lone figure paces back and forth, tapping his fingers at his sides, muttering to himself. He jumps when he sees you, his hands on his chest. By the flame, fooled me. Shouldn't you be in the meeting, attendant? The acolyte's waiting for you. He clasps his hand, his thumbs twitching. It's not time for the initiates meeting, is it? He twiddles his fingertips. I'll be ready soon. Tell me about the meeting. This must be our first time. The acolyte communicates with each of us individually to hear of our progress on all tasks and assign us to new ones. He shivers with a mixture of pleasure and dread. It's a unique process. She's a cipher, so she can speak to you without words. Fascinating until you realize she can probably read your thoughts just as easily. A cipher. What do you know about these tasks? He laughs nervously. Only what I absolutely need to. We protect the secrets of the gods, so discretion is essential. He waves a hand between the two of you. We receive our instructions from the acolyte just as she receives hers from someone else, and so on, right up into the Grandmaster. Our role is to obey, knowing as little about the overall plan and each other as possible. How can you be confident you're doing the right thing when you know so little? He snorts. That's easy. The leaden key has been around for ages, but a blessing of the gods. You only have to look around to see the perils of trying to usurp divine power. Killing a god in the Saints' War has caused this all, and the heresy of animancy has only worsened matters. Try to replace a soul and you inevitably end up with a monster. It's all been a warning. There are some powers we just shouldn't have. Tell me about these secrets. He jumps back. You shouldn't even be asking. Whatever they are, they're secrets for a reason. Our job is to guard them, not to know them. We've been entrusted with important work. It's been an honor, but not without its challenges. Do you need something else? Look, I'll be ready for the initiates meeting soon. Honest. What are you doing here? He resumes his pacing. I've been practicing the passphrases. I know them backwards and forwards, but I get so nervous every time I think about repeating them to the acolyte. He wrings his hands. You can practice on me. Okay. He ushers in deep breaths with fluttering hands. Here goes. First question, state your name and purpose. Answer, my name belongs to the gods and my clan to their service. Second question, what company do you seek? Answer, I seek the company of shadows so that our labours may remain secret. Third question, tell me of your labours. Answer, to see the craft of Keith and Wilder does not disturb what bones the gods have buried. Fourth question, how do we know of your purpose? Answer, you shall know it by the confession of my tongue, the deeds of my hand, and the oath on my soul. Fifth question, and how is your oath guarded? Answer, it is sealed by the leaden key. He sighs with a nervous chuckle. That wasn't so hard. Sorry, that wasn't so hard. Try it again. Sounds like you got it, man. I do, I think. He bites his lip. I'm just gonna practice a few more times to myself before my meeting.
I'll see what I can do.
Initiate.
The work of a moment.
Certainly trust us too quickly. Especially given we're stealing all the shit.
Hey,
I'll take a look.
Love looting temples. So, I'm not trying to drop a bunch of information about what the leaden key is, but if your mind is picking it over, you may have an idea of what we're supposed to be doing.
you should see this.
I would love to, Aloth. A fine rod. Sounds good to me. Last chance. You know, leaden key is somewhat sworn to the gods. Aloth falters and brings a hand to his forehead. He takes a staggering step forward, coughing and spluttering.
Back to you, Claude! Those hooded fiends are nigh to be trusted!
Aloth, hey, now's not the best time for that. He grimaces, catching his breath. It's nothing, I'm fine. He coughs again. This probably isn't the best place to linger, anyhow.
Yes?
Buddy, that was odd. Alright.
Hey,
Back, you clod. These hooded fiends are ne'er to be trusted.
laying low.
Yeah, like Aloth or other weird Aloth voice. I assure you. We don't. You hear murmurs and chants on the other side of the door. A ritual of some sort is already underway. Beckon your party to follow you into the chamber, or continue into the chamber alone. Chat, choose. You have 1 minute from now. Are we bringing the whole party in, or are we going in Slam Shadows alone? What's behind the door other than letting key members? How bad is it for everyone involved? Are we gonna do it? That's up to you guys. Also, if you all choose three, then like we just leave and come back. So that's pretty funny. Oh, hey, dead man, good to see you. So 1 minute from now, one or two, go in alone or bring the party. I know it's a good question. Ooh, one vote for one, two votes for two. Looks good to me. Pretty excited to see how this one comes out. Because you know that the dude at the front door is like, hey, don't bring your dudes in here. But also, if we're going to a dangerous spot, we should bring our dudes. We love our dudes. All right, we're calling it. It's been a minute. Number two wins by a small margin. Let's continue into the chamber alone. You open the door and stride into the chamber. This is main quest, folks, as well. So, like, this is something you must do. You can't avoid it if you want to continue playing the game. This is what it is. I'm excited to go through this with you. Shrouded woman. Several hooded figures are lined up from across the hooded woman. The figure at the head of the line approaches her, and the woman places her outstretched hand on the stranger's forehead. They stand in silent communion as you look on. A few moments later, the stranger steps aside and resumes his place in the circle around the statue. The woman turns towards you. You are late, attendant. Even though her face is concealed, you sense the rage in her dangerously low voice and in the sudden silence of the others in the chamber.
I've been waiting on your reports. Quickly now, state your name and purpose.
This is a good voice. I like that. The woman beckons you closer with her curling fingers. She rests her open hand on your forehead, and you feel the heat from her palm through the thick material of your hood. Her voice is so low and soft that you're not certain whether she's speaking aloud or in your head. I wonder if option one would be available if we didn't talk to the initiate. My name belongs to the gods and my hand to their service.
What company do you seek?
Her voice chimes again, rich and resonant. Is that an offer? I would fucking love to choose number two here because it's very funny. What company do you seek? Is that an offer, my lady? But we're also in here alone, so she will eat our brains, and that's a shame. A secret company of shadows that our labors may remain secret.
Tell me of your labors.
Number two is also really good. I'd rather show you. Shing. And then, of course, we get killed. Maybe. Killed. Such a vote for that. No, it's more interesting to hear her talk about things. To see the craft of pith and wilder does not disturb what bones the gods have buried.
How do we know your purpose?
Her voice rings like a bell between your ears. I asked you first. Writing these must be really satisfying to go through the particular. Like, every time you have a dramatic choice, remember to follow it up with something sassy. You shall know it by the confession of my tongue, the deeds of my hand, and the oath on my soul.
And how is your oath guarded?
I've had enough of this. It is sealed by the leaden key.
Welcome, attendant. Tell me of your exploits.
Her voice reaches you as a whisper, slithering first into one ear and then the other. In your mind, you see a building, magnificent with trellises, tiles, and located on a pristine boulevard. The wealthy and learned stroll in and out, trading what knowledge and coin.
Does he wait still?
Yet it also houses misery and madness. Somewhere within its rotten core sits a man, his hair matted but his eyes alert. He watches and waits, a prisoner by choice. The acolyte's question echoes in your mind. Does he wait still? Yes? No? I don't know. We don't have an answer. We don't know. What does this mean? Oh my god.
Did they arrive?
Yes. Jacklight's vision takes you out of Defiance Bay into a town in the wilderness with a watermill. A signpost on one of the paths reads Deerford. That's where we picked up Grieving Mother. So, like, I had a schedule because I wanted her by now. Several figures huddled together, shrouded in cloaks and hoods. An image of ruin suddenly looms in your mind. Two skeletal effigies flank a cleft in the mountainside. Did they arrive? It's uncertain.
Your information shall be relayed. Now, for your next task.
The ruins fade from your mind, and in their place is a palimpsest of a neighborhood. Rundown estates are cobbled around a cemetery and an ancient tower. Savage shapes prowl the streets, and in the tower a man hunches over a strange mechanism. You can't see him clearly, but there's something unnatural about him.
Stop him. And above all, don't let him meet her.
And stop him. And above all, you see a woman, deathly pale with a scar over her heart. Don't let him meet her. The acolyte shows you a door in the base of the tower, a seemingly impenetrable slab of stone and copper, but then she shows you the invisible split between the perfectly matched halves, and you understand how the copper veins convert a command into action. The command comes to your mind, a surprising familiarity about it. You know how to open the door. I shall. Or two, actually, I'm here to stop you. Hey chat, you have 1 minute. Are we going to say I shall, or are we going to kill this group of cultists now that we have the information from them? You have 1 minute from now. Let's go. One or two, attack the cult, or say I shall and disappear from them. A secret infiltrator. I'm excited for this one. This is a great choice to make. While you make that decision, I'll go through some of the things we answered. He watches and waits, a prisoner by choice. Does he wait still? We answered yes. That's true. He does. We can strictly answer no as well, and we'd be incorrect. And I don't think she knows the answer. This isn't the test. She made the test earlier, up here. We passed. So we'd be telling her otherwise. You don't need to be nervous, Kibble. It'll be okay. A skeletal effigies flanking a cleft in the mountainside? Did they arrive? It's uncertain. That's also true. If I remember correctly, I may be incorrect about that one. It's not too bad, though. And then she tells us what to do next. And that's also familiar, right? Ancient tower in a neighborhood that's run down with savage shapes prowling the streets. Why, that's here, in Defiance Bay. That's Heritage Hill. And now we can open the door. So, it's an interesting little diversion. Maybe we'll go there. We know how to open the door. I don't know if we attacked as we walked in, how we would learn how to open the door. Is that important? Is that part of the main quest? Do we have to go to Heritage Hill? Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Okay. So it's been a minute or more. We've got one vote, and it's for two. So, actually, I'm here to stop you. She snatches her hand back. A piercing scream sounds from under her hood. Imposter! Let's fucking go. Right? First combat of the night. Let's cause some trouble. I like opening up with speaking to the rest of us. Make people afraid of us. That's just fun. This time, if pull someone to them is not a charge, which is a shame. That would be great. I love. Adair, could you perhaps keep the Shrouded Man distant? Grieving Mother, opening up with a charm is a great idea. Let's do this to this Shrouded Man. If you can, I think I saw a red. I can't see. Okay, we'll move her in first. Palashina, you've got time. I want you to deal with her. I'm sure he's got his. And... lower speed, that's very small. Let's pull some tentacles out, huh? Hopefully there will be enough. See how it goes. Pulled it off, didn't seem to do much. Let's shoot the caster. Palashina's great. I'm glad she's here with us in combat. Okay, nearly got your tentacles out, buddy. Let's pull them there. That's good hit. This is why we have the pistol. The Flame Shadows just dealt 31 damage to this mage and went straight through his defenses. Nearly haven't got enough phrases yet to do anything cool. Now that Grieving Mother has moved in, let's pull out a charm on this Shrouded Man. Hopefully that means our good friend Flame Shadows won't be held in combat. Yeah. Poor Itamak seems to be, like, charmed or something, so we'll leave him alone. Not gonna harm the cute little guy. Get some more extra damage. Maybe mark this one for more. Get some tentacles to do some extra damage. Alos, I think it's time for a bouncing missile on this Shrouded Man. So we'll hit the Shrouded Woman. Hopefully these two as well. Looks like the charm failed, so we don't really have enough. Let's charge in and do some damage. Hopefully... Nice time along, isn't it? His bounding missiles are very powerful. We can get some AoE damage on these two by doing this. Decent hit. Took down a couple there. Tentacles don't appear to be doing much. See if we can move them over. Good job. Let's just do a bit of zap damage to here. Get Alof out of the way. Maybe Itamak can deal some damage. Or Flame Shadows is really suffering here. Maybe we can seal a bit of endurance. Oh. Just the wizard left. Let's deal with this small sect of the leaden key.
Hey.
Done and done. Good job, everyone. Look at all this stuff we just got. Including some drugs. And a key. A lead key. Oh, fantastic. Fine greatsword, fine scepter. It's like not unique armor here. It's pretty interesting. Not getting anything particularly fancy. Do have a new grimoire. It's just a novice's grimoire, so not anything particularly fancy. Whether by design or by consequence of this spluttering candlelight, the hooded statue's face is almost impossible to see. Devotees have placed assorted keys, their teeth filed away among the runnels of wax. Teeth. Jeez. We completed, like, a big quest, so turns passed here in our home. We've got a new quest. Via's diving helmet, 150 to 300 copper in treasure. A maritime merchant ship was sunk by Adirian pirates of the eastern coast of Waed Sereth. Before the ship collapsed into the waves, the pirates made off with a variety of precious treasures, many of which were experimental animate sea implements or nautical devices intended for Defiance Bay and Spirito. The concern would be recipients of the cargo discreetly inquiring about potential help. My hope is to recover the shipments before the pirates learn the value of what they've taken. I think let's send Kana again. They've served us pretty well. One day until the Western Barbarian's finished. Good combat, that was great.
Of course.
Talk of Defiance, Nick. Defiance of concentration. Defiance. 20 only usable by Ranger. Great. Well, we have a Ranger. She wearing anything on her neck? Yes, of will. That's nothing. Look at that. Strict upgrade. Love it. And of perception one, might as well, right? I think there's already got a possession increase on something. Yeah, that. Save those with someone else. Palagina. Strict upgrade for you too, Dylan. Enjoy. Anything to learn from this combo? Yes. Combusting Wind. Look at how many spells that guy has. What a good guy.
Hey,
Click this thing. Hello, Marvel. And up we go. There'll be long-reaching consequences for playing the cultist. Boy, wouldn't you like to know, huh? Come on, dog. Hup. Happy come, Marvel. No? Okay. The steward of Kainoa has received a letter for you. New quest, Durgan's Battery.
you work for the
A
Dukes of
moment,
the Villian
please.
Republics, huh? I feel I should explain
For
myself.
as long as they will allow.
Must be nice always knowing who you're supposed to serve.
Well, there are 5 of them, but even so, knowing who is easier than knowing how.
Aloth wants to talk to you.
About my episode in the catacombs. There's something I should have told you earlier.
That's an understatement. He clasps his hands together, slowly massaging a knuckle with his thumb. I meant no harm. I thought I could keep it to myself. That when we resolved the matter of your soul, we would also address my problem.
I also have an awakened soul. But unlike yours, mine is a presence that shares my senses and my skin, making herself manifest at the most unwelcome times.
Closes his eyes and grits his teeth. His lips quiver and twitch with the vestiges of some internal debate. Several seconds later, he opens his eyes again. They're watery and bloodshot.
I'm sorry. I've tried to learn to control Isilmir. I've gotten stronger, but so has she.
The vampire? No. Just his soul is awakened to a previous life. Someone called Isilmir. Tell me about Isilmir.
Artless, uncouth, a creature of rash impulses and feeble faculties. She wags her impertinent tongue when she should listen.
He winces, his expression rippling between control and chaos.
Aye, this one's fit to boil. Hard to get this gaff over anything tisn't to do with books and spell speak.
His face flickers with a sly grin. He grimaces, running his hands through his hair. I have none of her memories. Barrett spared me that much, but her coarse manners and intolerable heel speak suggest a provincial from very, very long time ago. She tends to surface a hair's breadth from conflict, when her fuse is burned down and teeth are on edge, and when she goes up, she doesn't stop to gauge the situation, she just acts. She seems reckless. Well, sounds like you could take a few cues from her. Sounds like you could take a few cues. Cues or vulgarisms? He rolls his eyes and crosses his arms over his chest. I've had to live with that hayseed for years. There's nothing to be learned from her. Nothing civilized, at least. He frowns, looking away. Kibbled loves her? Yeah, Collar be shocked. Why didn't you say something sooner?
I learned to keep her a secret a very long time ago. Those with awakened souls are shunned, mistrusted. And after your experience with Meowald, I'm certain you can see why. You need to be careful.
Need to be careful, Slam Shadows. He shakes his head. He looks up at you. Is this going to be a problem?
Merely an annoyance. Although,
He presses his lips into a thin, crooked line. He lowers his voice and clasps his hand behind his back. Minute twitches and spasms along his arms betray his fidgeting.
Defiance Bay is said to have an entire institution dedicated to the study and cure of soul-related ailments. Since our journeys have already brought us to the city, perhaps we could speak with someone there.
If it's helpful to you, we'll go.
Thank you. This has been a great burden.
His shoulders loosen by the slightest function. And now we can ask an additional question of Aloth. I'd like to know more about Isilmir. He raises an eyebrow, such as? When did she awaken? My father was a strict man. He expected the best from his only child, and he didn't tolerate failure. His face becomes drawn. At times he could be rather adamant, particularly when he'd been drinking. Isilmir manifested on one such occasion. To be honest, I don't quite remember the specifics, only that he was more careful with me after that. You said that you learned to hide her a long time ago. My mother instructed me to keep her a secret after she first emerged. She feared that knowledge of my awakening would render me an outcast. Even though Islamir proved useful against my father, I trusted my mother's advice, and I've since come to see the wisdom behind it. Mayorwold is an extreme example, but one that I can relate to more and more each year. Could I talk directly to her? Gives you a taut frown. Usurpations are uncomfortable enough. I'm not eager to invite her into my consciousness more than necessary. Let's discuss something else. Indeed. New quest. Two-sided. Found an expert on awakening somewhere in Defiance Bay.
Alright then.
We know exactly where to do that, and we will, right now. We love Aloth, of course we will. We also got the White March, Durgan's Battery, go to the Steward, and we can get the first large DLC/expansion pack quest started. That's pretty freaking cool. We might too, because there is one or two companions to pick up there. We'll make that a whole episode, go into the White March. We've only got like an hour left tonight. Brackenbury Sanitarium. So, we completed Never Far from the Queen. Right? Make our way in, we investigated. This is the best chance to find the Leaden Key. Now we've got 3 quests to go in the quest titled The Hollowing of the Deerwood. The Man Who Waits. The Leaden Key acolyte showed me a vision of an agent in a place of misery and madness. I need to find this agent and discover his or her plan to see if it holds any clues to finding the man I'm searching for. Find the place of misery and madness. If we chat, you probably know where they're going there. Undying Heritage. The acolyte showed me a vision of an ancient tower in a derelict district of Defiance Bay. There's a strange man in the tower working in some kind of machine. I also saw a woman with a scar over her heart. I don't know where she is, but I suspect that she holds the key to whatever happened here. The Leaden Key was interested in this tower for a reason. I need to understand what it does if I'm to figure out their plans. We know where that is too. That's Heritage Hill. Look through Death's Gate. Go to mysterious ruins outside Deerford. Go to Deerford Village. Again, something we'll spend a lot of time doing while we're there. So we're going to Brackenbury. Do a little bit of side quest for an Alice. Our good friend Alice needs our help. Always help our friends if we can. Come on, that's how it goes.
Do you still have family living in the Deerwood, Eder?
No, not these days. Parents left the country years back during the purges. I think about them a lot.
It's a shame you and your family suffered, even after the Saints' War ended. You Deerwoodens certainly have a knack for holding on to old grudges. How do you do?
His charming windows reinforced with iron bars and a double thickness of glass. Into the sanitarium again. Games from the Wildwood, a guest from one of our earlier streams, specifically mentioned a fantastic verb in your tabletop role-playing game skill set should be reused. And I absolutely agree, right? A port man to keep going, I'll open it up. To the waterline was a quest that was added, and we've sent Tana out to investigate it. We haven't been home in a while. I intend to, once we leave Defiance Bay. We'll go home and check up on everyone, talk to all our people, and see how it keeps going. Especially because, we'll finish building, and we now have the Warden's Lodge, so we can actually get bounties, which is just a great way to get a bit of experience and gold. Side quest. Anyway, the reuse verb is a great example here. A bad move here would be to invent another place, another building, another organization where your person could be the man that waits. We come to this place a lot. It should be reused. It's important. It makes the world feel more... Weirdly enough, by having less in it, it makes it feel more alive. So, here we are. Hey, Head Warden.
Hello!
Does anyone here know anything about awakenings? Great. Sorry, let's try that again, because I accidentally clicked twice. There's an animator on the lower floor who came all the way from wherever to study them. Take the stairs down and look for Belisage. Okay. You may have a member of the Leaden Key in your midst. Ethelmer groans and the stone around him shudders. I could have done without hearing that today. Many have their intrusions been into our affairs. Of course, one can seldom be certain whether they've meddled or whether calamity is struck on its own. But a few of their less skilled infiltrators have been exposed from time to time. They are a perpetual nuisance. Once again, I'm reminded of how envious I am of your gifts. I suspect they would be of some use in verifying one's identity. You're at odds with the Leaden Key as well, I take it? They are up to something, and I'm trying to determine what. They are always up to something. Of that you may rest assured. If their plots have come to involve you, you have my sympathies. Do you have some idea who this person might be? It would be unwise to consider any one of us suspicious. Very well. In that case, I would recommend you speak with first our resident animators. They have frequent interactions with both patients and colleagues. You'll find them up here in their offices downstairs. You will report anything suspicious to me immediately. My only request. It's an interesting thing to say. Find the place of misery and madness? Done. We're infiltrating and trying to defeat the secret society. They already know we're looking for them. There's literally no reason to not tell everyone important that we're setting ourselves up against this secret society. And I like that we find someone in charge and we're just like, hey, have you heard of this thing? Yeah? Cool, there's one of them here. And he goes, oh, god damn it. Like,
Good day to you.
that's fun. Do you know anything about awakenings? I'm afraid that's not my area of expertise. Bye.
Good day to you.
What is it that you do here, Leaden Key? Closest we are to Glenfartham Wilds, we get a number of beerwax maimings every year. Surviving's dealing with complications from exposure. This fellow who's a severe case, whose essence is a mere whisper of what it was. I'm early in my research, and I'm beginning to understand how they work. Hello, Captain. Here's a good yellow kitty. You good boy. But in time, I hope to find a way to protect people from the storms. Cool. Noble. Good on you. This natural disaster is bad for people. We don't want it to continue. Talk with all the animators. Find one that'll get us information. Hey, Nance. I know you dealt with grandfather artifacts, but I'm investigating possible Leaden Key activity in the sanitarium. Seen anything suspicious? Oh, I'm afraid I'm too wrapped up in my own research to pay any mind to what else is going on here. One of the other animators might know something. What do you know about awakenings? Not much, I'm afraid, but the sanitarium attracts experts from all over. I'm sure someone here can help you out. Yeah. I'm not going through these because I think we've done this dialogue before. This is not registering it. But I actually will read this one here. So what do you do here? I'm an animator. I used to venture on all kinds of underfunded and ill-fated trips out of the expedition hall when I was your age, but lately I've found research better suited to my current pace. She pats a creaky knee and sighs. I'd like to know more about the sanitarium. It's the official center of Adamantine in Defiance Bay. It was founded in 2729, and before you guys all see, no, I wasn't around at the time. Lol. It was built to treat ailments of the mind and soul. An important sort of place to have in a growing city, and as construction marked the end of the Adamancy slowdown that followed the Bale Reach accident. The Bale Reach accident? Shakes her head. A terrible setback for the discipline. A researcher was working outside the Bale March shattered the souls of a dozen volunteers. What? Yeah, just a terrible setback. Shattered souls. Her voice lowers to a growl. We'll never know exactly what went wrong because a mob tore him to pieces. This mishap bears some of the blame for the small pace of research in the 2.5 decades that followed. But it also helped concentrate practicing. Animats is here in Defiance Bay. Fucking weird researchers, man. That didn't have mattered. The man who waits. Nan said she's too involved in her research to pay much attention. to what else is going in the sanitarium. Slightly odd addendum to just add, you know? Maybe get Audma
How
to
do you
admit.
do?
Yeah. You know? Well, let's keep going. Down we go. Have a good time going downstairs. Ooh. Remember when I was like, hey, big map that we can't really explore? Ah, good friend, Mildred. How's everything?
God's keep.
Yes. Oh, geez, we haven't told him Helig's dead. So, shout back to a couple of episodes ago. The dead guy that you killed, he was alive, he's dead again. Helig is dead, for good. Mildred let out a long breath. I can rest easy. You've done a great service for Animensu, for the sanitarium, and for me. Thank you. Glad to be of help. Farewell.
Hello.
I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. I hear the Veiling Woman studies them. You should go talk to her instead. Has anything unusual been happening around here? You must be joking. This sanitarium, nothing is usual down here. He pauses. I think about it, the patients seem more agitated lately. But the Caedmon Azur's responsibility, not mine. Mildred nods, taking a deep breath. So then if there's nothing else, I'm just looking around. A man who waits. Mildred mentioned the sanitarium patients are more agitated than usual, and the Caedmon Azur is responsible for their care. We'll talk to Caedmon Azur, and if he's mistreating patients, I'm gonna kill him. And we won't even vote for that, sorry. Mistreat patients, you die. Belisage? Something else you need? I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. She laughs bitterly. Ah, that would be me. Though the lack of research subjects may be more of an expert in counting floorboards, I would like to transfer Animancy's success in buttressing pre-awakened souls to soothing those whose souls have already awakened, but I need subjects, and most of the patients here are too broken to produce reliable results. It is a tragedy to have come so far for nothing. You're in luck. I have a volunteer. She springs to the balls of her feet, beaming. Gilad, who is it? Alos's lips curl into a frown. I don't know about this. She grins more broadly still. Don't be silly. The process is perfectly harmless. All you must do is stand in that cage. I beg your pardon? I jest. You Darians are so uptight. I don't even know what that thing is used for. It belonged to the last occupant of this office, I think. Now they upgrade him to a cell. Again, I jest. She rubs her hands together, getting down to business. So, I need you to sit here. She takes Aloth by the shoulders and stares into the couch. And try to relax, but don't try too hard, then you will not be relaxing. Indeed, his eyes are humorless. And you must also wear these. A little cold, but the copper will help conduct your essence. The Animancer fastens thick copper bands to Aloth's forehead and wrists. As she ratchets them tighter, his face twitches with suppressed irritation. Now, I will examine your soul through my scope. She reaches into her desk and pulls out a long chambered tube. Knobs, dials, and small toothed wheels run along the side of the device. It is fitted with accurate lenses cut to different thicknesses and concavities. By manipulating them, I will find the angles and densities that allow me to track the anomalies in your soul. Does this mean we'll get to talk to Ismore? I like that. Ismere more? I like that lady. Oh, dear. Grieving mother. His mind is full of hesitations, angles upon angles. Drawing him out of his own fears will be difficult. She raises a finger. That's Belisage. But first, we must find this cunning interloper. He will answer some personal questions while I make adjustments. Sagani pets his arm. Don't worry. I'm sure we won't hear any of it. Alice squirms on the couch. Very well. She holds the scope to her eye and flicks a knob. To begin, tell me something personal, something from a time before your awakening. There is nothing to tell. I was just a normal child living in the Seathwood. He looks to you. His face is set in a frown, but the rigid edges of apprehension show through nevertheless. Talk about your parents, Aloth. So, tell me about your mother. As you speak to Aloth, you feel your voice like a bell in your chest. It tolls softly, luring him into the mists of his own memory. Belisage doesn't seem to notice anything, but you feel as if your words are smoothing his essence, untangling its many threads. He closes his eyes. Mother is away most of the time with the Thanes family, but I always know when she's coming home. Father's bottles accumulate like storm clouds on the horizon. His fits of temper become swifter and more violent. It still shames him, knowing that her neg to another man supports us better than his labours as a steward. This good. I'm starting to see something. Continue. Tell us about the time you awakened. She bites her tongue as she twists one of the dials. Kibbled, I enjoy this Alos experiment too. The reason we went to do it as soon as we could. I am in my 5th year of training. Mother's home. I can let my guard down a little because when she's around, he's usually only angry with her. But he's heard that I have had trouble casting missiles, and my flame shields are unstable. He is furious that I failed, and Mother's presence reminds him that he has failed too. The first blow takes me by surprise. One moment I am sweeping the kitchen, the next I'm sprawled on the ground, stupidly looking at the flecks of my own blood on the tile. His boots, glistening with fresh polish, thud across the floor. He kicks me in the stomach, and I curl up to feel my vitals. But it's pointless. Protecting the one thing only leaves something else exposed. Still huddled on the ground, I retreat as fast as I can. I retreat until a vision of the kitchen and my own trembling knees is nothing but a pinprick against the field of black. His jaws lock. His jaw locks and his eyes twitch beneath her lids. Told you I lost Dad sucks. Dad's in video games, man. Medicure! Belisage furiously cranks the nods along her scope. He's hypnotized himself with his old memory. Bring him out of it. Quickly, I almost have it. 4 options. Squeeze Alof's hand and say, "You're safe, everything's fine." Shake him by the shoulders. "Alof, you've got to wake up!" 3. This is just a memory, it isn't real. 4. Just slap Alof. 1. We're being nice. We're being kind. We like Alof. The guy's in a traumatic memory. We're not going to slap him. That's horrible. You're safe, everything's fine. Alof's eyes snap open, but the expression you see in them isn't his. He's near safe when I hap upon him. Kibbled, suggesting slap Alof. Belisage sucks a deep breath through her teeth. That's it. I'm seeing a shift in his essence, something spreading and congealing. She glances at you over her scope. Keep talking. He seems to respond to you. Oh. What brought you here? What brought you here? Aching bones and voices high in ire, that warm molasses feeling that creeps down your gut when crisis is nigh. Slap would be pretty funny. Yeah. That's different, Balachina says. Perfetto. We have a place of a totally distinct essence. She jots shorthand notes onto the pages next to her and turns one clicking knob of her scope. Now try to get the two of them talking. 1. Aloth, ask Isilmir what she's doing. And 2. Isilmir, tell Aloth why you've awakened. 2. Fine, he's the one needed me, hiding in his own bone bag like a turtle in its shell. Aloth's face twists in fury. I never turned it over to you. Good, yes, very good. She rests on her scribbling, only to make another adjustment to her scope. I can now see 2 separate patterns of essence, where he ebbs, the other flows. It's as if the awakened soul fills the spaces that he leaves empty. She prompts you with a circling of her wrist, quill still in hand. Go on. Aloth, what's this about ceding space to Isilmir? Or Isilmir? What exactly are you taking from it? I want to talk to Aloth now. He grits his teeth painfully. I've given her nothing. She usurps me in my own body. Aye, and I led him a pair too. You can ask where I did that old man to hens. How the old time, how the last time he laid a hand on us, I break it in 3 places. Aloth's head jerks to the side. That wasn't your decision. It's never been your decision. Nah, I was awakening, but now I'm stuck with you, and damned if I let you ninny and drag us both through the scupper. Ah, very good. She lowers her scope and consults her notes. I think we finally got something we can work with. I've tracked Isilmir's essence throughout the exchange. She had a particularly high density index during the most heated portions of their argument, and her essence seemed to localize most clearly in the lower portion of the subject's left rib cage. It's right around the spleen, which of course means that she is triggered by black bile. No doubt the subject's characteristic melancholy is to blame. Alice blinks back at you. And in the midst of his perturbation, you're not quite sure who's blinking out of his eyes. That's utter horseshit. How gracious, Palashina says. She glares at him. Yes, never mind my years of training. I was supposed to have a better explanation. I have a couple of options. Islamir manifests when Alice is in danger or under pressure. You're close. I think Islamir's appearance is related to potential sources of trouble for Alice. Well, Alice's right. That's absurd. Islamir obviously shows up when he feels threatened. Well, if you're right, then removing Alice's spleen should cure him. I'm going to go with 3. Agreeing with Alice is a good idea. Belisage carefully scratches her jaw, and her gaze darting between you and Alice. I suppose that could be true. She jots another note. I'll have to check this against other research. He removes the copper bands. Well and good for you, but what does this mean for me? Belisage frowns at her notes, tapping her cheek with a quill and making a grand show of concentration. However, you catch a stealing glance at you over the pages. We have 3 options, but I'm actually leaving this to chat, because this is a somewhat important decision, right? How does Slam Shadows feel about Islamir's appearance, out of what we know? Huh? And what are we going to say to our friend Helos about it? 1, 2, or 3, and they are 1. Islamir tries to take control from you when she thinks you can't fix the problem on her own. You can let her make these decisions for you. Or 2, she did you a favor by dealing with your father, didn't she? I think she's trying to help you stand up for yourself. You may not like her methods, but you should hear her out. Or 3, it seems that Islamir steps in when she determines that you're in danger. It's not clear yet whether this is a help or hindrance. Chat. How does Slime Shadows feel about Islamir and our lost awakened self in this particular circumstance? You have a minute. Well, yeah, just 1 minute. 1, 2, or 3. I think 3 is a bit of a half-assed solution, really. It's once again that option that's wishy-washy between the two of them. Like, it's not clear whether it's a help or a hindrance. Yeah, but come on. Pick a side. 1, 2, or 3. Good choice, Guild. Glad to know you've got a vote for everything. So we have a 3-way. Tie. Can't let her make these decisions for you, or she did you a favor by dealing with your father, didn't she? What do we want to say to our friend Alice? How do we want him to feel? What's important? 1. We got a vote. Good job, Guild. We have a couple of people out of the chat tonight, and I guess not feeling super great, and I hope they feel better soon. And I know Luxie is a little busy tonight as well. Well, I mean, a 3-way, of course. I mean, Alot's right there, isn't he? There are 2 people inside Alot, in some way or another. Wait, 2. Okay. Yeah, see, it's worth thinking about, because can't let her make these decisions is like anti-Islamir, right? Aloth, you need to be in charge all the time. Or Aloth, maybe you should hear her out a little bit. She may be stealing your body, but she did say she helped. And you said that your father, after Islamir came up, never hurt you. Well, I'm going to go with 2. That makes 2 of us. Let's press that button. She did you a favor by dealing with your father, didn't she? I think she's trying to help you stand up for yourself. You may not like her methods, but you should hear her out. If you had to listen to her half as much as I do, you wouldn't say that. He scowls, but you notice something thoughtful in his frown. I've got a lot to process. Regardless, thank you for your help, Flame Shadows. He does not look at Belisage. Not anti-Islamir? Yeah, me neither. She sets her notes on her desk and returns to her scope. Well, I hope this has been as useful to you as it has been to me. I finally have material worth publishing. Il bit toast of rêve, Fentra Allah. His grimace melts into a crooked smile. I advance in the right-wise principles of animancy, just what you always wanted. As you turn to leave, you get the darting movement out of the corner of your eye. Belisage is humming to herself, still occupied with her scope, but Alice is holding her notes. He's tucking into his cloak when he catches you watching. He holds a finger to his lips, his eyes wide and imploring. Please, I don't want my personal information published like this. Especially not after her nonsense. No. You get your explanation and she gets her research. That's the deal. Well, leave me out of this. Well, fair enough, but do it quietly. And four, I'll let you do that, not after hearing how much this means to her. I'll make this decision for us. It is naughty, right, Kibbled? You got like just a bit of time to choose if you want to weigh in on this decision. For you and me playing through this tonight, you, me, and everyone in the VOD. God, I hope VOD agrees with us. Have mercy on our painful, terrible decisions, huh? Don't want my personal information published like that. Do you think it'd annoy your dad? One. Let's do it. He slides the papers back onto the desk. I'm not gonna help you explain this one, Scholar Boy. Tax is collected.
Hey,
We completed the quest. Two-sided. Help!
of course.
You didn't notice. It's not even stealing,
I'll
let's
see what
just
I
do
can
it.
do. The work of a moment.
Interesting. Now, the reason that was locked and we couldn't walk in here is because earlier in the game, when we tried to open that door, it said it was locked. We need to find the appropriate key. Now it's unlocked. Quest triggers. Much harder to pull off in tabletop, that's for fucking sure, right? The door is now suddenly unlocked. It's a little difficult. People's decisions are hard. I understand. Maybe that's why I didn't get super far in Pathfinder Kingmaker, huh? When I recommended ages ago. That's full of fucking decisions. Doing it in a public way is harder too, you know? I'm absolving at least part of the responsibility by saying, hey chat, what do you vote for? Right. And that's fun. Yeah. North patient record, Batista, Batixa, I think. The pale lady. Subject is female, mid-40s, awakened to a past life as a serial murderer, which now frequently emerges as a sole dominant personality. Subject vacillates between violence and severe depression resulting from the guilt of past deeds. Weak candidate for present research. Yoink. Quest item. North Ward patient record. Ram. Subject is a male, approximately 30, early 30s, powers of speech absent, presumably as a result of the overfragmentation of his soul. As such, he is the ideal subject for present research. However, experimentation has caused severe pain and induced panic, and I have had to enlist the aid of the guards in transporting him for more recent procedures. Too excited about other games. I get it, you know. Kingmaker's on my list of games to play through for the stream, so I don't think it's a super high priority for you unless you want to know things as well. I'm pretty excited about Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous releasing 2nd of September. I really loved running Wrath of the Righteous for those friends and the books themselves being highly enjoyable. And Kingmaker was so good. Um, it's funny, I played it at roughly the same time as Disco Elysium, and so I said frequently, Disco Elysium is the best made CRPG ever. Pathfinder Kingmaker is the closest targeted to my heart, other than Pillars. Because I just love them both. So I'm pretty hyped for the sequel. And I'll do Kingmaker, but it won't be before the sequel, that's for damn sure. Because I'd have to start now to fit it and stream every couple of days to get through it. It's a big game. It's good though. Northward Patient Record. Idelman, the Midnight Man. What is Wrath of the Righteous? Sequel to Pathfinder Kingmaker. It's another Paizo adventure path. It's their first adventure path that involves their mythic tiers, which are epic levels. It was a really good adventure path that I enjoyed a lot. There were some down points, but I rewrote them to be more interesting. The Midnight Man. Oh, I didn't right click it. Okay, we'll read that in a moment, and then read Uskrim now. Northward Patient Record. Uskrim. Subject is a male, approximately 17 years of age. Admitted to episodes of catatonia followed by occasional violent outbursts. Initial analysis of soul revealed severe fragmentation and essence deficiency. Said deficiency all but eliminates the possibility of utilizing the subject in present research. The man who waits. Talk to Ethelmere about Azor. Note from Azor. Ripley, I require more copper tubing for the next experiment. Do not requisition it from the sanitarium stores. I don't have time to deal with the head warden's inevitable questions. Suspicious. Let's go to our quest items and read the last one, the Midnight Man. Subject is male, mid-20s, displays acute dissociation, paranoid delusional tendencies, causing anger and extreme violence. Dangers of working with subject preclude possibility of further use in present research. What are you researching on patients? Also, Slam, for fuck's sake, take that stupid hood off. By God. Whoops, good thing we didn't get into combat after that. Hey Ripley.
Good day to you.
A young Orlan woman traces her fingers along the spines of books in front of her, row by row, her motions quick and skittish like a bird's. She does not notice you until you're nearly upon her. Oh, my, you startled me. Are you supposed to be in here? What do you do here? I mostly help Master Azzo set up and clean his equipment. I also keep his office organized since he's too busy to do it himself. There's nothing else. I need to get back to work. I'm looking for an expert in awakenings. Me, I'm just Master Azzo's assistant, but there's a visiting scholar from over here named Bellisage. She claims to know about them. Oh well. Okay, so time to go upstairs then, clearly. Hey, Headman, Azzo is doing something weird. So let's figure out what the hell he's up to. We're doing main quest. It took us a while, but we're doing it, baby.
How do you do?
Found records that Azzo may be running some questionable experiments. Experiments? Headman Azzo was in charge of patient welfare now. He's not authorized to run any more experiments. I am disappointed in Cademan. I'd hoped he would be the one to guide your inquiry. He'll be in his office or in the patient wards. I'm granting you immediate access so you can find him. No doubt you will wish to speak to him further on this matter, and I, for one, am curious as to what he might say. Tread carefully in the wards. There are a few dangerous cases. I would also ask that you do your best not to agitate the patients. They have enough troubles as it is. Interview Graham in the North Ward. Interesting. Interesting. I like that the head warden explicitly says don't make trouble for the patients. That's bad. We triggered 2 quest steps as well. We got 2 sections of experience there. Hey, to the waterline completed. After travelling north from Godhammer Citadel, Kana arrived in the Raid-Saren port city of Benholt. Several of the pirates had landed there and sold much of their stolen booty. Tips and rumors from merchants and the criminal elements led Kana to the Bone Isles, a small archipelago northwest of Raid-Saris. The more foolhardy pirates put up a fight, but most of them fled with small scraps of cargo. In the end, Kana managed to recover over half what was stolen. One item, a small, curious diving bell, went unclaimed by the conglomerate of merchants that had paid for the recovery. Experience, money, and Ivera's diving helmet. 20 defense against poison, 35 defense against dragon breath attacks. -1 perception. Curious, Head warden says you can go in there. Be careful. Hey Ripley, do you know
Gods
anything
keep
more?
you.
Nope. Okay. Be
Lay
careful.
low.
Must have spent all their copper on the upstairs. Flesh construct. The construct turns its head towards you and watches warily. Frail. Curved spine pushes this woman's posture forward, her greasy hair draped over her large eyes like vines. She smiles at you. You must be visiting someone. And then, noting your appearance, she adds, a friendly visit, I hope. What do you know about this Animancer Azzo? Oh, I like him very much. Many Animancers could care less about our patients, look us like vermin for their experiments, but Master Azzo treats us like humans, even the very sick. You can tell he does this to help people. He's helped me understand a great deal about myself, and I know he's done the same for others. And by what they did to him. He denied it well, but I know he's still affected by it. What did they do to him? What is he affected by? Curiouser, right? What happened to Azur? Frail's eyes dart back and forth, and her voice lowers to just above a whisper. They don't like to talk about it, but there was an accident. He was said to be one of the brightest in the Deerwood. That was his reputation here, and that was what brought me to seek treatment. People say it was ego that drove him to try and solve the legacy, but that's hogwash, even if he was a bit of a showman. He loves his homeland. He thought he could help. He he wasn't one to speak of his work. He suspected his colleagues might have tried to steal it, but he told me once that he had figured out a way to create a soul. Not a soul exactly, mind you. How did he put it? A proxy, I think he called it. Had some machine that drew energy out of the very aether. Can you imagine? The point is, it was going to help with the legacy. It was going to make the Hollowborn into something easier to love and care for. Gods know that's something we need. Do you know what they call those little babies in Audra's gift? No, tell me. They call them boys because so many of them are found floating face down in the water. These are mad times. They sure are, Frail. Grieving mother. The grieving mother's hands fly to her ears, and her mouth frames a silent scream. Only her mind speaks. Evils that magnify tragedies. This is what we must stop. Anyway, Master Asno had scheduled a public demonstration of his work in Copper Lane. He was so excited. Then the next day, he was locked in his office, turning away visitors, I heard, and he stopped seeing patients. I don't know exactly what happened, and I don't have the heart to ask him, but I'm glad they're letting him treat people again. They are not letting him treat people again. He's just doing it. Suspicious. Do you know where I might find Enzo? I think I've seen him around today. Have you checked the laboratory? It shares a wall with his office. He's been spending most of his time there lately. Have any of the patients been acting unusually? Well, there's Petixia, who relives a murder she committed more than 5 lifetimes ago. Idleman, who they say only has half a soul and was found collecting the faces of others because he believed his own to be a false one. Gran, he speaks a language no one understands and wails at night sometimes. Different from their normal behavior, I mean. Well, yeah. Yes, I suppose, but nothing they didn't volunteer for? Master Azur lets us know that a number of patients from North Ward had volunteered for a new therapy and would be escorted to his laboratory to receive treatment. The North Ward has had most troubled cases. I'm glad some of them have chosen to get help. It seems to me it's gotten quieter over there since it started. It's Graham I see taking him in the most. He struggles, but he always was a bit of a wild one. Would I be able to visit the North Ward? They like to keep them separate. I don't know if I've ever seen the guards allow a visitor, just Master Azzo. You might ask him, he's very sympathetic. Why are you in here? Behind her hair, her cheeks flush. I don't want to say, you'll think less of me. When you blush, it brings out the colour of your eyes. Her blush deepens, and she ducks her head forward to bury her face deeper beneath her hair. Well, these last few years haven't been kind to me. They haven't been kind to anyone, really. I try not to think of it as personal. I lost my husband and both boys in the Saints' War. My daughter, the legacy took her before she was ever mine. I made do. What else can you do? I moved into a tiny place in Andra's gift. Got by mending clothes and on the on the kindness of strangers when I had to. But I was surviving and the gods were watching over me. I could live with that. Then one day this nobleman comes in, wants his fancy gown fixed. Such a gorgeous thing, the shade of blue I've never seen before. Only I had. I looked at it and it reminded me of something. I had what they call an awakening. I remembered being a noble woman myself in another life. People doting over me, men doting over me. Me, the best food, the most beautiful home, all the things you never dared to dream of, they were mine. It was poison, knowing that. All these things that I had that I'll never have in this life, it did something to me. My food started to taste rotten. The walls in my little room seemed to close in around me. I stopped being able to sleep in my own bed. So I came here. It's not a break into an estate and start ordering some servants around. It seems like such a silly thing to worry about. You don't have to tell me, but I can't get past it, and I start to wonder, did God choose this life for me? And if so, what terrible thing must I have done to deserve it? Let's talk about something else. Well, maybe I'll get there again one day, if not in this life, then another. Maybe the gods took offense to your overindulgence. Nobody deserves to go through what you've gone through. We had it right before. There's nothing left to do but live it. I think Flame Shadows is going to be like, maybe you'll get there again one day. If not in this life, then in another. The strange part is, I think even the best wouldn't be good enough for me anymore. I think it must have gotten to the point where I was that noble lady. Farewell. So the first named patient we speak to here is sensible, normal, and not crazy, just afflicted by a disease that's not her fault. And personally, I'm glad, right? How bad would it be if we run into someone and they're ranting and raving and they're awful? And it just makes me feel bad. And it's not a good way to characterize the mentally ill, who are also me. I'm mentally ill. You know? Barrel, ale. Ale shouldn't be here. Last I just said it'd make me feel better soon. I've been hearing dreams in the night. Also swapped out a kitten for a beagle, because at that time we had a little bit of a change. We've had a kitten for a little while, and a beagle. Cooked boards show deep gouge marks. They're spaced like folk or elven fingernails. Cooked chalk tally marks cover the surface of this table.
Be cautious. Be constant.
This is Azo's laboratory, because he said it shares a wall with his place, with his room, right? I don't want to go in there yet. I would explore everywhere before we start another dialogue. What if we learn more information from another patient like we did Azo? Frail.
That's unusual.
No-cap mushrooms growing in a broken container. Interesting. Flesh construct. No speak. No visitors. Locked door we can't open yet. We need a proper key. Wonder what that could mean. Sanitarium guard. We allowed in here? Keep your distance. Wicks in the cell back here. We've had incidents when people get close. 3 lockpicks. Whatever could that mean?
I'll see what I can find.
What's in here? Oh, an office. We're stealing, but no one's watching us. Fleet feet, more copper. Cool. This incidental detail just have there, I'd say. Okay. We didn't find anything extra. Let's go talk to Azar.
I'll take a look.
Go, go, go. Something churns and bubbles in this tank. Ooh, we're gonna spend a lockpick on it.
The work of a
There's
moment.
Cademan. Take everything. Exactly, Kibbled. Ravenwing, unique mace one-handed. Damage reduction bypass. Accuracy when attacking the same target as an ally. Damage when attacking someone. Damaging 3. This is a very dangerous weapon. A one-hand weapon. We got 2 people who use great swords right now. There's no one who could really use this yet. Figure it out. A couple wires and conduits are shiny. The device is warm to the touch. Are we nervous to talk to Cademan?
I'll see what I can do. The work of a moment.
Lead Colin. Properties breakout, preservation, fine. Preservation when you're stunned, defense or prone, you're fine. And breakout is stun duration, knockdown duration down. So this is really good when you're fighting things that knock you down. And otherwise it's +2 damage reduction on light armor. Not terrible. Not specifically amazing. You know,
Hey.
like it doesn't give plus intellect, which is great for light armor or classes that use their abilities a lot. You can see it. Like, he doesn't attack us immediately. Something churns and bubbles. Warm to the touch again. Round-faced balding man turns to face you. His upper lip is pulled upwards slightly by his pointed nose, exposing his upper teeth when he scowls.
What is the meaning of this?
I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. I don't have time to give you directions. Go bother somebody else. Ethelmar told me you're not supposed to be doing any more experiments, Cademan. Yes, well, Ethelmar hasn't done much good for anybody since he had his soul moved to an animate objects, so I fail to see why I should let that sway me. If Adamanters all followed the commands of the leaders, where would we be? We'd be all as backward and willfully ignorant as Ray Seraph. We would know nothing about life or death, or even ourselves. We would be lost in the dark with no clue as to why. Animanters must push the boundaries of knowledge, but you must be careful, Azor. Even Defiance Bay isn't as safe as research as it once was. Surely there are other paths that don't involve risking lives.
Indeed. Many lives have been spent in such pursuits, writing treatises and poems. But tell me this, how does one verify the truth of a poem? If some philosopher stumbled across the meaning of our existence, how would we know it from a false one? These are wasted lives. In Animancy there is progress. We are measurably closer to complete understanding because of our work. And that will be true until our work is complete.
Continue.
Who will solve Widewen's legacy? Some church? Some warrior? It will be an Animancer, or it will be no one at all.
Not to think about current events too much, but like, this is a biologist working vaguely unethically and doing experiments on people who are willing, yes, but not fully cognizant of the risks in order to cure a plague. Right? A lot of the time, we're taking the most issue with his arrogance and his lack of concern for the people he's using. That's pretty bad. I heard you were demoted. How did it happen? As those nostrils flare and he bares his upper teeth more broadly, that's none of your concern. Did one of the others put you up to this? Ordner? That smug weasel. Things went wrong. Everything. I don't know how. I'll never know. He spits on the floor as if to remove a bitter taste from his mouth. Have you tried your experiments on any other subjects? I have, yes. No point in lying about it now that FMO is involved. I asked for volunteers from our patients, and a few brave souls came forward. I was very close at one time to a breakthrough. They understood that. They understood the sacrifices would mean something. I'd like access to Northwood. Out of the question. Use patients are in isolation for a reason. We're going to use our perception. Your forehead seems damp all of a sudden. I should discuss your insubordination with the head warden.
You smug cretin. How dare you come down here and meddle? You have no idea the importance of my research.
He balls up his fist and digs his teeth into his index finger, a growl simmering beneath his breath and a deep scowl compressing his face.
Fine. Speak to them for all the good it'll do you. I'm sure the discussions will be fascinating.
He pulls a heavy key from one of his pockets and nearly slams it down on the floor before handing it to you. And there we go. Continue being pet. What?
They shall see nothing while I see much.
We talk to the people in the cells, we don't unlock them. This is nearly all of it. Okay, let's talk. Is this my face? Tell me. Thundering sky, rain of blood, innocence must drown. Ram. This man has a look in his eyes of a hunted animal, and at your approach he staggers backward to the far corner of the cell, halfway appearing as though he would climb the walls if it would get him farther away from you. He cries out, with a bizarre primal utterance like nothing you've heard. Number 2. You can't hide from me, leaden key spy. No, we're not gonna be a dick. I need to ask you some questions. Graham looks at you blankly. It is unclear whether he understands you or not, but his panic has momentarily subsided. He opens his mouth to speak, but the words that come out are half-formed as though his tongue were cut out. They are impossible for you to discern, if indeed they are words at all. Alice makes a noise of disgust. Those animancers did this to him. You can see what comes of their meddling. Perception 13. You're afraid. Do certain visitors make you afraid? He looks at you with uncertainty. Slowly, tentatively, he scraps closer to the front of his cell, and as he does so, for the first time you can perceive his soul within your ken. It is misshapen, as though maimed by some jagged instrument, and large expanses of it have been gouged out entirely. You feel no barriers of resistance. If you wanted to, you could look further into Graham's soul. Peer into Graham's soul. You project out toward the maimed soul in front of you, merging with it, its confusion and fear becoming yours as it whisks you into its depths. You're in your cell. A key turns. The door creaks open on neglected hinges. Thoughts come to you in waves incomplete, broken, and fearful. Standing at the door is a rotund, balding man. His upper teeth and pointy nose remind you of a rat. He beckons, apologetic. You don't want to go. Anything else. In your mind is a single word, and the word is no, but it dissolves before it reaches your lips. You press against the back wall. Cornered. You cry out. In darkness, you fight against unseen restraints. You cannot move your arms or legs. The man walks into the room carrying a lit candle, its meager flame casting long shadows across books and machinery, strapped behind your arms and legs. Cold metal circumscribes the crown of your head and the breadth of your chest. The man is sorry. He's in need of raw materials. They dismantled his work, and he needs another source. He needs to show them he was right. He thanks you. Then he turns the knob and you feel yourself begin to crack from within, and you can feel pieces of you torn away, like having insides chewed by a horde of rats, and you are screaming a scream you can barely hear. Continue searching. Another night. Heavy footsteps outside your door, coming for you. You look through a slit in your door, the flesh giant, the unofficial being, just outside, but facing left, facing the end of the hall. The boy there. The boy looks interested at Gaunt. The boy looks interested at the giant and collapses to the floor like a shed snakeskin. The giant convulses for a moment and rights itself, turns away, and leaves, decoupled from Graham's soul. Graham looks at you, still wide-eyed but somehow more present, nods at you, and walks back to the end of his cell. As you regain awareness of what's happening around you, you realize that your head is in Palutina's feathered hands, her golden eyes are peering into your own, as though she's trying to catch a glimpse of activity lurking in the depths. As she sees your eyes respond, she wobbles your head a little and gives you a light slap. Letting go and stepping back, she regards you with concern. Everything going all right in there? End dialogue. Quest updated. Speak to the patient at the end of the hall. Flames of the fed, watch them rise. Ustgrim. A willowy adolescent boy stands in the center of his cell, gawkish and stoop-shouldered. He stares straight ahead. The occasional blink is only movement. It is unclear whether he registers your presence at all behind his glassy, doll-like eyes. In this state, the barriers between your soul and his are thin and porous, easily bypassed should you wish it. Reach out for his soul. You close your eyes and edge forward towards the boy's soul, and as you near, a sudden malaise comes over you. You are cold and warm all at once, sweating and shivering and straining for breath as you did on the caravan journey. The soul you approach is the wrong one. A parasitic plant that strangles its host. It is predatory and pitiless, and you have crossed paths with it before. Too late does it occur to you to retract, and already you feel yourself plunging into some interminable abyss of thought and memory. You are standing in a cell now, the same cell in the sanitarium. The halls are moonlit and empty, and you are waiting. At the far end of the ward, the door opens, revealing a flesh golem in silhouette beneath the stone archway. It makes its usual rounds, the same stops every time, the misbegotten child of the despondent creators. When the construct is close, you coil yourself up and spring forward, passing out of the boy's body as though it were a membrane. You sense his body behind you collapsing to the floor, a puppet whose strings are cut. You are rushing towards the golem now, bodiless as a gust of wind. Quickly you think to yourself quickly, and you feel the strength hemorrhaging from your soul as you dart towards the makeshift abomination. You pass into the golem's shell and overtake the soul implanted within, encircling it, suppressing it, and contained in this new vessel, you are strong again. You step, heavy-footed, down corridors, unheeded by the other constructs, and scrutinized only by the wary, untrustworthy eyes of the mad, coming at last to an office piled with books and scribbled papers and the perverse implements of animancy. You set your oversized hands on a large machine, a nest of globes and tubes and coils in the center of the room, and go to work, bending wires and unsetting alignments. Your surroundings are pulled past you, or perhaps you pulled past them and they dissolve into a blur. When they settle into place again, you are outside on a clear day, standing in front of a crowd stacked high above you on the tiered seats of an amphitheater. You are acting for the crowd, standing deliberately still, but this is no play. A balding man with rodent-like features is strapping you to a machine, the one you had tampered with. You see your arms for the first time, short and fleshy and unmistakably those of a little girl, but this body is not truly yours. Your mind still holds the same determination, the same hard-heartedness as before. The body itself is cold and vacuous. Unlike the others, this one has no soul of its own. The man speaks, and the crowd applauds with the enthusiasm worthy of a hero's entrance. Bear witness, he says, and he pulls a lever. The machine shivers and sparks, and a bit of sweat rolls down the side of the man's brow, but the crowd's apprehension quickly gives way to awe as a crystal globe fills with a radiant mist that casts the theatre aglow. He opens a valve, and the glow crawls through a tube along a length of copper wiring that runs to a set of electrodes beneath your armpits. You feel nothing when it reaches you, as it should be, for you have been leading his work astray periodically for some time, altering notes and settings and playing puppeteer for Hollowborn. But you make it look how people would expect it to look when a body is infused with a soul. In a moment, the machine goes dark, and the man unstraps you, eyeing you with a scientist's concern. He looks back up at the crowd. Behold, he says, but there is obvious hesitation in his voice. Slowly you take a plodding step forward, then another, and another. You look up at the man, give him the eye contact of which no Hollowborn is capable, and the crowd gasps. The man looks relieved. How do you feel? He asks at a volume meant for the crowd, and this is the moment. At the top of your lungs, you let out a piercing shriek. The man comes towards you, his hands outstretched, but you run the other way, back to the machine. With all your strength, you drive your head into the crystal globe, and it shatters, streaking your head with warm blood. You drive your head down to the surface of the machine again and again, drawing panicked screams from the crowd, and by the time the man reaches you, your body has already ceased proper function and merely twitches on the cold ground. Satisfied, you depart the corpse in search of another unsuspecting host. Who could put their faith in animancy now? You are pulled again from your surroundings, transcending the boundaries of memories and lifetimes, deeper and deeper past betrayals and murders and lies upon lies that form the thick webbing of plots beyond mortal comprehension. You settle at last on a room you've seen before. Expansive, with a tall device encasing an agile monolith at the center. The room is filled with people, and the people all look at the device. You are yanked suddenly back to reality, and the once catatonic boy in the cell is looking directly at you, appraising, calculating. There is no mistaking now that it is the soul of a man who caused your awakening that gazes out from the borrowed husk. A watcher. I know it's past 10, but I wanted to get this conversation done before we finish it tonight. Not just a watcher. Someone will break those frail little legs of yours if you don't do exactly what I tell you. Is that so? He makes no effort to hide his disinterest, but he continues to search your eyes. Makes a slight grunting noise, and his eyes soften for an instant, and it seems for that moment that he recognizes you. He opens his mouth to speak, and seems to think better of what he has to say. His jaw tightens. I know your look, your hunger for answers that elude you. It gnaws at your soul. It usurps your reason for being. You're like everyone. I will help if you let go. He dodges backward with startling grace, putting himself out of reach. On his face there's no malice, only the dispassion of a farmer putting down a sick animal. And suddenly he slumps forward. End dialogue. Quest completed. The Man Who Waits. I can't save in combat. We're going to finish this combat, do a quick good night to everybody, and then we're going to see you next week. Let's survive. See if we can survive. So So we all kind of expected this to happen. Also, we're finally going to unleash a fireball with Elon. Hell yeah. We all kind of expected this to happen, right? Something bad would happen in the asylum when they end up fighting patients, people who didn't deserve it. That sucks. And it's not the best outcome, right? But you know what is really good? We didn't hear dealing raw damage to all enemies that stand within. The patients aren't at fault here. The person that made us a watcher is at fault. They're the ones making everything worse in the area. They're responsible. They're responsible. They're the ones causing trouble, and their fault. Right? This could have been so easy. Like,
Of course.
you just simply say something like, "Oh, they're easily manipulated because they're all crazy, lol," or they attack you for no reason. Everyone here has been forced by the enemy. Not sanitary, not so sanitary. And we had a brief, very brief conversation. The chain's grown with added weight. Crescent bite marks hit the edge of the pot. The bucket reeks of offal. We had a brief conversation with the person that made us into a watcher. He seemed to recognize us slightly. And he was like, fuck it. And he left. I will help you if you let go. There we go. So, really glad we got through some plot there. And we certainly had spent a lot of time talking to our companions, and we will go back to Caed Nua and talk to our other companions as well, because boy, they've got some things to tell us too. It's been a really enjoyable stream tonight. Kind of chill, that's for sure, because we had a few less members in chat tonight. That's okay. We'll see them all in the VODs, right? Because you can't miss out on this massive main story quest episode. A lot of good things are happening. So when you go through and watch the VODs, remember to shout out at prof_Jimbles, and we can talk about any episodes or what choices you would have made, you know? And then you can tune in live. We can get together, have a good chat. Well, thanks, Kibble. Well, thanks for joining us for the whole time, too. It's been really pleasant. Usually I'd stay and chat with Chad a little bit longer, but we're over time, and while it is lovely to have all of you, it is time for bed. Alright? So, no, good night, folks. Yeah, thanks for joining us too. It's always good to see you. Especially like I can't catch your Tuesday night streams very often, and that's a shame because they're usually pretty good. Especially the AI Somnian files. You're starting a new game tomorrow night, right, False? Have we bullied you into playing Disco Elysium? Because we were talking about it in the chat earlier, right? So anyone who's watching the VOD a day after, you should absolutely jump in and watch False's stream because that'll be a great game. You know, it'll be absolutely worth it. So I'm telling everyone involved, go check out False Security's stream for Disco Elysium. All right, and everyone, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have an excellent night, and I will catch you again later. Good night.